And in this house, the most dire, horrible event took place.
We are not content with the stories. Somebody's lives come. Be my victim.
Through watching scenes of violence, through watching scenes of transgression, through watching scenes of horror. There's an enormous amount of sort of abattoir of excess.
We all go a little mad sometimes.
Hey everyone! How you doing? How are you liking the intro? Have you worked out every film that's in there? Have we got them yet? Have we worked out all the audio samples?
I saw Midnight Meat Train.
There was
Still one of the worst titles for a film I can think of, but
I know,
well.
I know. Disgraceful. It's one of those ones where you feel pretty awkward asking for it. Back in the days of Blockbuster Video, our sainted video rental, you go out there, you're thinking like, could I have a midnight? Do you still have There's Something About Mary? You know, how many times? Just pushed out over and over again.
If you're going to ask for that film, you might as well ask for it in a pervy voice.
Go in a big trench coat.
Have you got Midnight Meat Train?
Ooh. What do you reckon are some films that are legitty but sound absolutely filth? Like prime schmutz. What do you reckon?
That sounds
Die
German.
Hard, obviously. It is, yeah.
I'm trying to think of films now.
Obviously Die Hard. You know.
Backdoor Sluts 4. That's a
That's not
shit.
friendly stream, Haryan.
No, guys, you just reminded me. They're not films, but they are a series of books. Look up Inside a Mind's latest video. The titles of the books are like absolute degeneracy. I'm trying to think what they're called. It involves bottoms, basically.
Oh, nice.
What? Right.
Getting pounded in the butt by a pound. Pounded in
the butt by my own butt.
And
yeah.
or
Chuck
like
Tingle. You're talking about Chuck Tingle.
Chuck Tingle, yeah.
Oh no.
Yeah. Well, he was talking about him. I feel like that guy's going to appear in some sort of register in the future, but allegedly.
I think there's some deep lore around that, but yeah, I kind of love the absolute shitposty nature of it. The way he rushes these stories out, like just on the eve of Brexit, he got something like pounded in the butt by a representative of the pound sterling.
Yeah.
What? I see people know what we're talking about.
Amazing.
Hello, Bilbo. You've been down the weird parts of the internet where you...
That was definitely a rabbit hole I was not prepared to fall down.
Yeah,
I'm glad to be that.
I have just searched up 100 movies that sound like pornos. Number 1, The Banger Sisters.
Oh, you got Sausage Party.
Yeah.
The Dark Knight Rises.
Nice.
Think about it. Up. There Will Be Blood.
What about Herbie Rides Again?
Can't see that one. We've got 8.5.
Too Fast, Too Furious.
12 Angry Men.
Oh no.
Oh.
Kiss Kiss Bang Bang.
That is a great movie, by the way.
Oh, Ghost Rider. Easy Rider. The A-Team. Hot Fuzz.
Transformers.
What's filthy about the A-Team?
I guess it's the ass team it's going for.
Double team, maybe, but
Maybe. Oh, they've got a load of Die Hards. Die Hard, Die Hard 2, Die Harder, Die Hard with a Vengeance, Fast and Furious we've already had, A Fish Called Wanda.
what?
I don't know why that's a
reaching.
porno.
That's reaching.
Chitty Chitty Bang Bang.
Oh my god, I was thinking that.
Classic, yeah.
James and the Giant Peach. Nice.
Amazing.
Born to Ride.
What
Guys,
about Willy Wonka?
Oh, well, what? I
What about
didn't see
Free
Willy
Willy?
Wonka.
Come on.
Shaft, of course. Murgoot says Shaft, of course. How are we not including that?
They've got Shaft in Africa as well.
Oh no. Oh,
Yeah, Free Willy's there.
on the stream already, and we're 5 minutes in.
Speaking of pound signs, how's the pound sign on your monetization for this stream, Prop Horror Show? I think we'll.
Oh, jeez. I didn't think in it. I just started family friendly the stream. What
It might get loud.
Oh no.
In too deep. Nice.
Hot fuzz.
Octopussy, obviously.
This is awful. All right, we're going to sanctify this.
One more. Extremely loud and incredibly close.
Wait.
No.
Squid Games.
Oh.
Oh, that's the Japanese version.
Oh, this is getting very dirty. Chat, we need to sanctify this or we'll never get Lambda on again. Guys.
The Ring.
Oh, gee. Oh no. I wasn't ready for that. Gosh damn it. But also Pulse in a double bill. The pulsing ring. Maybe there'll be a crossover. We're going to stop this now. This is awful. Because we've had 7 filthy minutes and I haven't said my usual thing. Welcome to Double Feature Horror Show. We're on episode 40.
40. Nummer 40.
Ja, willkommen, sehr geehrte Angerschauen zum Double Feature Horror Show Nummer 40. Wie geht es Ihnen? And we'll go back to English now. I've been told off for this.
Every time you start speaking German, I call you a Nazi. It's my trigger.
Stop working against the Zusammengehörigkeitsgefühl I'm trying to build here, Haryan.
Yeah,
Please.
that's what Hitler would say. Probably. I don't know.
But, yeah.
He wore armbands or something.
Hey, I may wear armbands, but my swimming skills are not as developed as yours, and I'm very sensitive about that. Thank you. Fez with Scream 2, yes. She will scream too.
Wait.
Terrible. We need to sanctify the stream, guys. Sanctify the stream. All right. So yeah, this number 40. We are closing off our Christmas horror run. Why are we closing it off after 3? What are we doing? What are we playing at, guys?
I don't know, but I think Right Honourable Fez is in the right ballpark, whether he means to be or not.
Yes. He does know. Maybe he does know. Do you know, Fez? I might have said already, yes, we're only doing a short run of festive horrors because we do aim to cover the entire Scream series in time for the new Scream that is coming out in exactly 1 month. I think it sounds like fun. I think that's a good aim.
I think it's a good idea.
Excitings indeed.
I wasn't sure about it. I thought, do we just try and get the feel of the series and do 3 or like 2 of them, and then we'll do the latest as like the closer of the arc, and then it was, no, let's do the lot. It's a really interesting series. Let's do every single one of them. Not the TV series. But,
yeah, the TV series don't count.
There was a Scream TV series, yeah.
There was. It's still on Netflix.
We
some
might
reason.
have to discuss it. We should discuss it. I think we'll discuss it as a topic. But it's too much to review. But yes, so we are going to be doing our 3rd and final for this year. Festive horror, which is going to be looking at Black Mirror, White Christmas. This is a short one. Possibly I'm wangling to stay on Super Nanny's good side, but
there's loads to talk about in this one. I don't know.
I don't think my plan is going to work. We might get away with it, but equally we might struggle.
Well, yeah. I mean, the topic shouldn't take long. I can sum Silent Night, Deadly Night up to in a sentence. So.
All right. Yeah, I believe you. I believe you. Okay. So before that, though, we do have a topic that it's kind of an improvised one. Like, this originally wasn't what we planned, but we were going to cover Silent Night, Deadly Night 2 last week as well, and then we decided not to bundle it. And then you said you were going to watch it and live tweet it, and I thought I just want to hear your review of Silent Night, Deadly Night 2, having gone in as far as I believe blind. Yeah.
Yeah, pretty much. I mean, all you and Crime Guy told me was that it was not particularly good and it didn't perform well at the box office. And after watching it, I can see why. Because
the fact that you didn't know and you were just going into it blind, I feel on some level I should have warned you.
No,
but on a much funnier level, I'm glad that you just discovered it.
Well, yeah, I mean, you may as well just keep this picture up. This is all that will be going through my mind while I talk about this film. Because, just so the first half of the film, literally just a rerun of the last film. Literally, I'm not even joking about that. The first 40 minutes is just the highlights of the story and the horror bits from the first film, with really crap dialogue from Ricky here and the bloody doctor that he's with. And the doctor's like, oh, we don't need security in here. I know he's a mental murderer, but I'm fine with him.
I loved it. You were just like, they're just reusing footage from Sunlight Deadly Night 1. Huh.
I hope this doesn't last.
I love that. I'm sure we'll. Are you going to pull up? I don't know if you'll pull up the live tweets.
Do you want me to get up your tweets?
I've got. Oh no, I had the link. Let me see if I can get it back up. Yeah, there we go.
Yeah.
I've got it here. But oh my god, that was when you first mentioned that on your live tweets. And he was sort of like, we're like, oh, this is a bit strange. My first thought was just like, mate, you have no idea. and then as it just completely like descended into this like, oh my god, he's still showing these clips. It's like, how does Ricky know about this? He wasn't even there.
It's like, oh, Ricky told me, Billy told me about it. It's like, oh, fuck off.
Yeah, like, no.
And I think I start by saying, oh, they're doing a bit of a recap, and then 5 minutes later in the film, I'm like, this isn't a recap, it's just a recap.
Yeah.
My favourite bit was there. You got to the. I was like, oh, they even had the sex scene bit, but then I was like, wait, that doesn't look right. And so I said, oh, I think they reshot it, and I went back to the first film to like watch the same scene again, and they reshot the sex scene, and I'm like, why?
Yeah.
Why not? Everything would you reshoot
Here
that?
it is. Here it is. I think he's got it.
It's still coming and I don't know why.
Why do we need to see any of it? This isn't adding anything.
I applaud your detective work in checking that they actually did reshoot this.
It was just so weird. I was like, why? And then they just get a load of the continuity wrong, like later on.
15 minutes in, Haryan.
I lost it. I lost it 15 minutes in, and it only got worse. Because there's a bit where the psychiatrist is like, "Oh, Billy left you like in the orphanage," and he's like, "He didn't leave me. He turned 18." But in the first film, no, he turned 17.
Yeah,
which is when he got the job. And then when the Santa gets shot on his way to the orphanage, in the first film he's like Father O'Brien, and in the second film he's a janitor.
Janitor, yeah.
And I'm like, I think they just didn't want it to be canon that. I think they just didn't want it to be canon that he shot a priest because they put the Christians on him again.
Oh, the amount of times you quote tweeted that as well was brilliant.
Oh yeah, it's like, 30 minutes in, still true.
There you
40
go,
minutes
look.
in, still true. Yeah, how would Ricky know about?
Oh,
Yeah, they had that, and I don't know why.
30 minutes in. Oh no.
And then
Haryan.
and then after they did the thing, and the girl's like, "Daddy," it's like, oh, what did he say? Daddy almost got his present early or something, and I'm like, what what is he talking about? And yeah, just had a rerun of everything, and it even tried to make up reasons why he was like killing sledders and things like that. But I'm just like, I don't. You were 35 minutes in, and I'm like, how? We've not even got to the film yet, really. And Ricky's just a meme.
Yeah. Just a quick sidetrack. If you're looking at the screen right now, ladies and gentlemen, you can see in the trending section what's happening. Yes, you are reading that right. Mr. Blobby is trending in the United Kingdom.
Oh, nice.
Oh goodness me. Why?
Because he said F turfs, apparently.
Oh,
Wait, is that real?
Yeah,
Mr. Blobby has a stance on trans rights.
apparently so.
that can't be real.
I think it's just some anon account, but I mean, for a start, Mr. Blobby wouldn't say F turfs. He would say blobby 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 blobby.
True. I see one where someone's just got a picture of Mr. Blobby in the BBC offices, and he's like, "Oh, love it when the A-listers come back to work," and someone called Mr. Blobby has just retweeted saying "Here to F."
Oh yes. So,
Anyway, moving back onto
Yes,
this.
yes, but that was so much more entertaining for me because now I'm reliving I've got PTSD from this film. Yeah, because I may as well skip to the actual film because
Oh, hang on.
Yeah.
Maverick Hunter. This is This
Oh.
explains about 70% of British idiosyncrasy.
Mm.
I'm going to take this off. I'm going to try and find you some Mr. Blobby.
A fun little fact. I used to, if you can, try and find the one where him and Noel Edmonds are decorating. I used to have this on video, right? Honestly, Mr. Blobby was my childhood. There was a part in it where he was decorating his house and he was trying to put up wallpaper, and it's just bloody hilarious. You have to look up that. But he did other things as well, like he went like supermarket shopping. A lot of the time as well, when Noel Edmonds used to do like the Noel's House Party, they would do clips where they would bring celebrities in to like shoot scenes with Mr. Blobby. Like one of them was like Will Carling, former England rugby player. Another one was Wayne Sleep, ballet dancer. I think they even got, what was her name? Someone to talk about money, but it was regardless. But yeah, and then they would always do a big reveal, like, "Oh look, it's a prank, it's a prank." But yeah, like the skits that they used to get Mr. Blobby to do, bloody brilliant. Yeah, look up the wallpaper one. I'll see if I can find it as well.
I don't think I can justify putting Mr. Blobby on screen. I'm already very disturbed.
he is horrifying, to be fair, and we are on a horror stream, so.
Well, there you go. I mean, he did appear on This Morning not long ago and completely trashed the set. Just barged in.
I'm not ready for retro Mr. Blobby. I'm not ready for that to be cool again.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh. Anyway, Haryan, you were enjoying Silent Night, Deadly Night 2.
All right, I'm just gonna skip to the actual story. I think my best tweet is Ricky's tough guy adult persona is just pure cringe, which it is. The man was a meme.
It's an unbelievable performance. Just how that happened, I don't know.
Yeah, because they even say like, "Oh, the orphanage closed after like Billy got shot there," and I was like, "Why? Why did they close it?" But anyway, so yeah, Ricky got a family, the Rosenbergs, very close to a certain person that a certain hero in America shot in last year. And he literally just has a normal life from then, but then it skips to like when he's 12. And yeah, there's a weird scene where he like sees two nuns on the I'll call it a sidewalk for Americans, and his adopted mum's just like, you know, doing what mums do and talking to random women in the street. And he's like having a panic attack over like these two nuns. And then when his mum's finally stopped chatting, she looks over. The nuns are gone, but there's this like red velvet thing that's like been draped over something. And then she's like, "Oh, that must be because he's afraid of Santa, and it's reminding him of it." And I'm like, "How the hell would she work that out?" Like, it was so bad. But then he skips to like, "Oh, he's 17 now," and he calls him his stepdad. It's not his stepdad if he adopted you, but his dad died, and he's like, "Oh, I took it pretty badly." And he's like, "Oh, I never told anyone this, but I went on like 3-hour walks." And I'm like, "Why wouldn't you tell anyone that you went on walks?" It's just really random stuff. And then when he's out on a walk, he sees this couple having a picnic, and the man gets a bit handsy, and the woman doesn't like it. And he rips open a shirt, and he flashes back to his baby self, seeing his mum getting her shirt ripped and all that. And the guy's drunk, and he's like, "Oh, I'm going to go for another beer." So he gets a beer, and then he gets run over. But not just once. He runs him over and goes back over him about 5 times.
But they don't show you anything, do they?
They don't show you anything. All they show you is this really bloodied arm. But you don't get any sort of money shot. But then the girl comes over with her like shirt still ripped and all that. And she just comes over and is like, "Thank you." I'm like, what the fuck? What? Why? Like, nothing. Well, that's the thing I could say about the first one. At least the characters reacted properly to someone being murdered. Oh god, what? I just couldn't believe it. And then it's like, they go on to the Jennifer story. She bumped into him when he's a bad man with a leather jacket and a bike. And then they start dating a bit. And he's like, "Oh, it was my first time when I banged her. I thought it was hers too." And I'm like, "Oh, jeez, this is cringe." He kills a guy in the back alley, which I'm just... How is it entertaining just to like be like, "Oh, there was a loan shark that I stabbed"?
Did you get any other images? Because one thing I will give this film credit for, not so much the 40 minutes, the first 40 minutes, but in particular the latter 40 minutes or whatever. There are a couple of death scenes in this which I was quite impressed with. One of them was when he shoves the guy's head into the car battery and then like melts his face, like his eyes explode. Brilliant.
That one is quite nice. I'll give him that. No, I didn't get any of the images. I just thought the quick review of...
Yeah, we just need
I just wanted Eric Freeman's wonderful face.
This is my mental state.
He just disappeared after this,
Yeah, I'm not surprised. I wouldn't want to be known as an actor after this film. Oh god, yeah. So he killed the guy in the back alley. I'm just like, he stabbed him through with an umbrella, and the umbrella was like perfectly fine before the stab, and then after it's obviously covered in blood. But he opens it the other side, and then it's all teared and ripped and stuff, and it's like, oh, fine, whatever. That's why it was in the bin, but it's ridiculous. But yeah, and then they went to the cinema. He was there with Jennifer. There's an annoying guy at the back who I'm pretty sure was autistic, but whatever.
Brilliant.
Just off in the background, just no one cares.
Also, where did that guy's friend go? He just disappeared from the scene.
I know. He to be fair, he did call Ricky an F slur for not kissing his girlfriend, which fair. But yeah, he got really annoying, and then Ricky. Well, what is it? The film starts, and Ricky's like, "Oh, what's this film about?" And she's like, "Oh, it's about this guy who dressed up as Santa and goes around on a killing spree." And I'm like, and then he's like, "What?" I'm like, "How would you not know what you're going to watch?" Also, what the hell would that film be called if it's like not Christmas related? And then it's literally it's the scene from the first film where the guy in the Santa outfit robs the store. That's literally the scene they show you of the film they're watching.
Yeah.
I'm just like, this is ridiculous.
The word is chutzpah. Pure chutzpah.
Oy vey.
So yeah, but when he finds that out, he just says like, "Punish." I don't know where he goes, but then behind Jennifer's Chip, one of her her ex-boyfriend, and I'm like, how did he get in? And how did he know she was here? And why did he surprise her like that? And why is all this going on? And after they have a bit, and after he's like, oh, I want to go out with you again, she looks over, and then there's literally a woman there waiting for Chip. And I'm like, wow, what a bellend. all while this is happening, right? The annoying guy at the back, he's with his friend, and he's like, oh, there's issues with this film and whatever. And I'm like, oh, maybe he has some good points. But then Ricky comes in and ruins my time with that rigorous and riveting conversation. Another guy disappears. His friend just disappears. Don't know what happens to him. And then you just get a scene of literally the guy's leg as he's being it looks awful. It just looks so funny. And then, next day, Ricky and his Jennifer are walking down the street. And this is where Ricky starts to go unhinged for God knows what reason. You know, they see Chip randomly on the street, whatever. And Chip's like, oh, I'm, I banged her, and all this. And he gets really mad and says punish. And he's fixing his car at the time. So he puts him on. He puts him on the bonnet. He takes, because he's fixing his car battery. He takes one of the car battery, crocodile clips, whatever, puts it in his mouth, and then turns the charger on.
It was good.
Now it's not a completed circuit, but still, they had fun, and they just had all this electric stuff going around his face, and then his eyeballs exploded and his shades exploded as well. And I'm like, this is schlocky. Doesn't make any sense, but at least it's really funny. And then Jennifer's reaction to that is a normal one. She's like, what are you doing? You're crazy and all this. And then Ricky just says back, naughty. And she goes, oh, no.
Yeah, I know. Doesn't she like go, uh-oh?
Yeah, it's quite cartoon.
Yeah, it's well comical.
Yeah, and then he rips off the aerial off the car and then strangles her with it. Soon as that happens, he turns around. There's a cop there coming out of his car being like, hold it right there, a-hole.
And this cop is the most, the costume doesn't fit for a start.
It doesn't, yeah.
It looks about 12.
It reminded me of iDubbbz when he did Content Cop.
Brilliant.
It was exactly like that. But he goes right up to him with the gun. He's like, oh, I'm going to put your handcuffs on you. And he's acting like really tough and all that. So Ricky just grabs his arm, points the gun at his head, and for some reason the cop shoots himself in the head. Oh, and then Ricky goes on his little rampage with the gun. Walking down the street, some guy comes out saying, like, what was that noise? Just gets shot. Then he goes a bit further. No, I want to do this bit. Goes a bit further down. There's a guy putting out trash. And he sees him, and Ricky just says, garbage day! And just shoots him as he's putting out the trash.
It's the most zero effort thing ever. I love it.
Oh my god! What did I say for the? I'm just losing it there. I literally say in the tweet I'm losing it, and then just describe what happens.
I felt you'd sort of the despair had set in by the time you got to garbage day.
I was in hysterics. I couldn't believe that was unironically put in the film. So he goes further down the street, and then there's a car coming towards him. He shoots like 3 times and hits the engine, and he says like, bingo! And then the car swerves, hits this random pile of dirt in the middle of the street for... Why is that there? I don't know. And then it just does a whole 360 barrel roll, and as soon as it lands again, it does a Simpsons explosion where it just explodes for no reason. It's not just the engine,
though, isn't it?
It's
it gets quite close to the guy.
Yeah, the stuntman does.
Yeah,
that was a good stunt.
Dies. Yeah. It was just so funny though. Honestly, I couldn't handle it. And then. So that's 6 bullets in the 6-bullet shooter, and I'm like, I wonder if he'll magically get more. But he ends up at this police line that aren't even blocking him, and they're not even trying to chase him. It's just on a T-junction to the left is where he's walking. And obviously all the cops are there like, drop it. He just aims it at his head. And then they're all like, no, don't do it. Think about it, man. And he tries to shoot himself, but it ran out of bullets. And I'm like, wow, this is like the one bit of continuity.
Yeah.
Why?
Quote, Ha 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 ha. They screw up all continuity except the bullet. One ha 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 ha. This is unbelievable. I don't for a second believe they counted the bullets. End quote.
Yeah, I think they just did this by accident. I'm pretty sure they just did this by accident. So, yeah, so when he finishes that story, it's like revealed, oh, he's killed the doctor that was interviewing him. And then it does actually a pretty cool transition where it like focuses on the tape recorder and then goes back up to like a new scene. But in that scene, you've got the detective and the nun just talking about Ricky, saying, oh, he's relapsed, he's killing again. But they're putting the body in the body bag behind them. And I'm like, why are you doing it there? Why are you acting like there's not a dead man behind you? Why is it? Why? It was so weird. But then, yeah, what does the nun say? It's like, oh, yeah, when they're saying Ricky's on the loose, the nun says, well, the orphanage is closed now and Mother Superior has had a stroke and lives alone. And I'm like, hang on, no, you said before the orphanage closed after the Billy incident. Yeah. So what the hell? You like, they're saying it like it was recent. Otherwise, it's just bad dialogue. And then it's like, so this 80-year-old nun had a stroke and she lives alone. How?
With great difficulty.
Yeah.
They recast, didn't they recast?
They recast the Mother Superior. Yeah. Yeah, they're both recast, yeah.
0 returning cast. Good sign.
Yeah, I'm not surprised. Yeah. Which makes it even stupider that they just rerun the whole film, because that's just going to confuse people now.
I don't know if you picked this up, but you know the scene where at the end of the first one where Ricky says naughty, and then they reintroduce it in the second film.
Oh yeah, it's the adult Billy saying it.
Well, yeah, it's the adult Billy saying it, but I'm pretty sure it's a different child actor.
I didn't check that. I didn't notice. I just noticed the sex scene because the guy in the second film in the sex scene had like 20,000 moles on his back, and it was really disconcerting.
Bruh.
Like, imagine if you're the woman and you're trying to scratch that back, you'd make so many.
You'd
scratch so many of them.
Friendly stream.
I love the 4 things you mentioned. Sorry, I'm just.
Oh yeah.
Again, this is a gold mine. This tweet history. Yeah, it's a quote. 1, orphanage closed after the Billy incident, not recently, like that line suggested. 2, you'd never live alone as an 8-year-old. We've covered that. 3, even if the orphanage was still open, why was it that Mother Superior couldn't be replaced? 4, can't think of a 4th, but I hate this film.
It's a film best observed with friends and much to imbibe, frankly.
Yeah, I'm
watching it alone. I feel bad for you, sir.
Well, I was watching it with an audience with my live tweeting, I felt. But yeah, Ricky's obviously gone to find Mother Superior, and the police chief says, "Oh, I'll have to find her first." So I'm like, "Oh, it'll be a bit of like, how does he find her?" Nope, none of that. Just kills a Santa in the middle of the street, nicks his outfit, but not his beard for some reason. This happens an hour and 15 minutes into the film, so we've got about 10 minutes left of the film, and only then do we see Ricky getting the Santa outfit. And yeah, he even called Mother Superior ahead. All he said on the phone is like, "Santa's back."
It's bad.
And then he walks there.
The trailer.
Exactly. And I don't know how. Whatever. He finds Mother Superior's house for whatever reason. Mother Superior had, like, they think for some reason whoever wrote this film thinks a stroke means you get like face cancers on one side of your face. I don't know what that was. She looked like something from Star Wars. And then like she's obviously in a wheelchair 'cause she had a stroke. But he like breaks the door down, goes up the stairs with an axe, obviously. Don't know where he got the axe from. Who cares? But yeah, he goes upstairs, sees her, and he's like, she starts wheeling away, and he's like, "Oh, I love a chase." And I'm like, she's in a wheelchair. How's that a chase? And then, yeah, she's trying to like barricade herself in a room with like somehow she can move a chest or something in front of the door. He starts axing through it, and then she locks it. And I'm like, lock it first, you idiot. But then when he's chasing her, he gets distracted because Santa's on a TV screen. He just starts hitting it with the axe. It's so stupid. Which manages to give her the time to get on her. She tries to get on a stair lift, but takes ages. So he comes around, about to like slam the axe into her, and she just falls down the stairs instead. And he somehow gets his axe caught in a freaking wheelchair. so she can lift herself up into a second wheelchair, and then chase. Who cares? He then, you get a scene where, she like takes a knife, and she's like, "Oh, come at me! I'm not scared of you." And then she says like, "Oh, you've been naughty. You need punishment." And I'm like, "Stop with the dialogue. It's not good." And then he says naughty this, and then lifts up the axe, and then you get a cut to the police responding. Like, they've got the nun with them for some reason. Like, the nun goes in and is like, "Oh, there's Mother Superior. How you doing?" Her head falls off because he decapitated her, even though he did an overhead swing from vertically rather than horizontally. So it doesn't make any sense. Whatever. Who cares? Who literally cares? This film is awful. And then he just appears behind the nun, and she faints. And then the cops all in the room, like one has a shotgun, and they shoot him 3 times, and he falls out the window. And then it's like, "Oh, he's dead now. Great." Nun wakes up, sees Mother Superior's decapitated head there, and just screams. And then Ricky dies with a smile on his face. Oh, 2 out of 10. Cheese. 2 out of 12 even.
I'll say, yeah. Don't make it sound better. 2 out of 12, definitely. I love it. Or to put it another way, youtube.com, Family Guy, Season 3, Episode 1, Blair Witch.
Yes, literally, yeah. Nothing's happening. Happening. Something about Santa. It's over. A lot of people in the audience.
88 minutes it got to. Just about got that feature length.
Imagine if we watched this last week. I'd be losing my marbles.
You could get away with a lot in the pre-internet days.
Unbelievable. And somehow I think TLJ is on this level of sequel, by the way. I think TLJ is as bad as this. Oh, unbelievable.
I mean, I might try and class this up a bit. Like, it strikes me as very similar to. Do you know all the fake sequels?
No.
Issues.
No.
Oh man, this is great. Like, this is some gold lore. So we're talking about cringe movies, right? You must have heard of Troll 2.
I've heard of the Troll films, yeah.
Yeah, Troll 2. Okay, good. So
wasn't? Oh no, I'm thinking of I'm thinking of that thing that Warwick Davis was in.
Oh, Leprechaun.
Leprechaun,
No.
that's it.
All right, so there was a film called Troll, did okay, and then Italians made Troll 2, a completely unlicensed sequel. They just did it on their own, no contact with the original filmmakers, and they released it in Italy as Troll 2. Hey, it's a sequel to Troll. It had nothing to do with the original production, and it was legendarily bad. But this happened a lot. You would smuggle out a sequel. You might even take a film that had already been made, and you'd try and brand it as a sequel to another movie. And this has happened a few times. So Troll 2 is the obvious one. There's quite a better film that's actually quite known that did this exact trick. So in Italy, it's known as Zombie 2, and we know it as Zombie Flesh Eaters. But it was billed as the sequel to Night of the Living Dead. Absolutely nothing to do with it, nothing like it. Just has zombies in, though, so they pretended it was a sequel because Night of the Living Dead was released in Italy as Zombie. Yeah. And we've had, in our own time, what we tend to get more is, a slightly more licensed version. So you'll have a ready-made film or something just in production, and it will get swiftly retrofitted so it can be billed as something that's like an official sequel. So American Psycho 2 is a good example of this, starring Mila Kunis.
Oh, nice.
Hot.
Very.
I want to say as well, just quickly while we're on Silent Night, Deadly Night, apparently in the remake from 2012, the one who becomes the murderer Santa is called Jim Epstein. I thought that was quite humorous.
Oh no.
Oh
Oh dear.
Love it.
Well, I'm glad you experienced it.
That was something else.
Truly, it is
Yeah.
a special production. But I don't want to risk angering Super Nanny after we won her back over last week. Quick, interesting question. Yes, Richard, I think 8mm 2 is the same thing. And Gently Benevolent, you are absolutely right. Zombie Flesh Eaters has this amazing scene with a woman fighting off a zombie, and she barricades the door and he busts through, and he's still on the other side of the door, but he grabs her and he's pulling her through towards this bit of sharp wood that's sticking out, and it is quite amazing. It is quite the scene. You remember it if you've seen it. Excellent bit of 80s gore. So we should probably actually talk about the main event for this episode, which is the Black Mirror Christmas special, White Christmas.
Yes, by one of my favourite Brits as well, Charlie Brooker.
Yeah, but before we do that, we are on YouTube. So
you need to pick up a snow globe. You need to smash that like button right in the face. And if that's not enough, you need to get some drugged up wine or whatever the crap in that glass was and pour it down that subscribe button's throat.
Yeah, take that like button back to yours and feed it a dubious concoction under false pretenses.
I download a subscribe button into a cookie. Send it forward about 1,000 years until it does nothing but subscribe.
Oh God,
Give it a job. Give it a job, and that one job is to subscribe to this channel.
Yeah, just take your friends to a cabin, lock them in there, and make them just rewatch this every day, over and over and over and over again for 1,000 years until they subscribe. That's what we're after.
And the beauty is, it doesn't matter what button they press, because they'll already be.
It's always the subscribe button.
It's always the subscribe button.
Well, we're getting into the wonderful spoiler territory here, but we've done our shilling now. Yes, if that would be much appreciated. We got over the 1,000. It was fantastic, and we're just hoping to keep growing the channel so more people can get to see what we do and get a deeper insight at horror. And also it helps me justify the amount of time I spend on excessively long Christmas specials. The more people see it, the better. I may give you some news on that tonight, guys. I may drop it at the end of the episode. And if you want to support the channel, obviously you can drop a super chat. That's super welcome. I'd love it. You don't have to. It's very welcome. And if you don't want to send any money YouTube's way, I do have a subscribe star, which is linked in the description, and any money towards that helps cover my Adobe fees and certain more ambitious projects that I would like to fund. But enough preamble. We'll get into the episode, and I will say slightly more sincerely, we're going to completely spoil this episode and everything in it. We're going to talk about it in depth. If you have not seen this, I will not be offended in the least if you duck out now. I think this has to be seen unspoiled. And if you haven't, I would really like you to experience it afresh. It is masterful. I have rewatched this. Oh, it's got to be 10 times easily. I absolutely love it. But I would love you to have it unspoiled if you can. So I'm just putting that out there. We're going to go full into details now, guys.
3-minute plot summary.
3-minute plot summary. Well, plot summary. Shall we? I thought we did really well, like dealing in sections. Shall we do like sections like we did last?
Yeah.
I mean, the plot's pretty much split into 3 sections. So
yeah,
because you got.
Hey, Kevin, you made it. Thank you. Good to see you, man. Good to see you. I know you're querying the time. I'm glad our time zone works for you. Yeah, let's. Shall we? Hold on. Before we do the plot summary, I do want to ask, how are you guys with Black Mirror? Because this isn't just a film. If you don't know, this is part of a series. I'm assuming most people know Black Mirror is a series, an anthology series where each episode is a new story. I'm interested in sort of your guys' experience with Black Mirror.
Well, mine's a bit weird because I do know I like the series, but I am terrible at keeping up with it. So, I mean, when the first series of Black Mirror came out, I was 14, 15. And I knew Charlie Brooker from his Screen Wipe and News Wipe and all that.
So Haryan is way too young, guys. Can I get a shouter in the chat, please? Carry on, Haryan.
So whenever I saw Charlie Brooker in anything, it's like, oh, it'd be funny. It's, you know, he's satirical. I find him really funny. So I watched the first episode of Black Mirror thinking it was going to be a comedy, and it's the one where the Prime Minister shags a pig, and I'm like, oh, this wasn't very funny. This was depressing. So I didn't watch it again until the second season, where I was like, oh, it's supposed to be pretty disturbing. Right, let's go in with that mindset. So I've actually only really watched season 2 and a bit of season 3, and obviously White Christmas in season 2. So I have seen this before, and I'm like, yeah, I know I love it. I know I like it. I just have a really bad time keeping up with it because they're usually an hour, which isn't an excuse at all, because I've been watching The Witcher recently again. They're an hour each. But yeah, I do need to watch the whole series at some point from the beginning, because I do know I like it. Like, every episode is just amazing.
Yeah, I would say it gets quite spotty after this episode, which is not to say there isn't some really good stuff, but it's a bit spottier, basically. How about you, That Crime Guy? What's your experience with Black Mirror?
I don't really have much experience of it, to be honest with you. I think I watched like 1 or 2 episodes of the first season. Bandersnatch is probably the most in depth.
Oh, you did Bandersnatch.
I did Bandersnatch.
Tell people about Bandersnatch for those who haven't seen it.
So it's, from what I can recall, it's a story about like a programmer who joins this company. But the thing about this one is it's one of these interactive TV shows. So the decisions that you make will affect how the story progresses. So it could end quite abruptly. It could go in a completely different direction, or it could. I mean, it could just sort of drag on, almost like end up in a bit of a loop. It was quite good, quite an interesting concept. It was because I know it was something that Netflix have with a couple of other TV shows on there. I think this was one of the sort of pioneering ones at the time. Quite an interesting concept. It reminded me of the old sort of Channel 4 teletext sort of games. Now I'm showing my age. If Harry was showing his age, I'm showing mine.
I remember teletext. I was there.
You know, so it kind of reminded me of that, and it was pretty good. It was pretty good.
Well, Bandersnatch is a really interesting one to bring up because it is that example of the show really being ahead of the game in terms of doing something unusual, sort of elevating a style.
It wasn't like games like The Walking Dead, for example, like the Telltale series, where they say that the decisions you make will influence the story, and while they do to a certain degree, the story remains quite linear. But with Bandersnatch, it genuinely would take you in a completely different direction if you made a particular choice at a specific point in the story, which I thought was pretty cool.
Oh yeah, it was, and it went into the meta quite a lot, which is very key to, because what we're going to see with this is a style of storytelling that has already been advanced by the Black Mirror team. So this is a horror anthology series, and this special is an anthology style. So it has many stories inside one episode. This is a classic horror setup. We've got so many of these. And whilst it does that style, it also develops it and embellishes it in a really interesting way that we're going to get into. But this came out in 2014. It's basically the end of the second season. of Black Mirror, and I would say it's basically the high point. And with that, I think we should probably just get into it, right?
Absolutely. So again, if you haven't seen this, please close the stream now and go watch it. But then obviously come back because we want the views. So, as Horrorshow said, there's kind of a few stories put into one, but there's obviously one overarching narrative as well. So the show starts off, and these two guys are in a cabin. One being Joe, and another being Matt. And Joe acts like Matt hasn't been there before, but Matt's saying, "Oh, I've been here 5 years. We've had 5 Christmases, so I thought, 5th time we'll do this Christmas right." And he says, "Oh, couldn't find decorations the other years. I found them this time round." It's all a bit strange. It's odd behaviour, but we're doing what we're told, and Joe's just going along with it because he seems quite depressed and just sits himself in a corner in front of the fire. So from there, Matt's asking Joe, what's your story? Why are you here? And then Joe returns the favour by saying, "Oh, I don't want to say. You tell me first." And then, so that's what Matt does. He says, "Yeah, you're connecting. Come on, let's have a good time. It's Christmas. Let's go into each other's details." So turns out.
Can I stop you there and just be like, I'm gonna do the academic style thing of being like, this is what's going on. This is a technique. But this is a classic setup over and over. The anthology is, we're gonna put a whole bunch of stories within this frame. So it's stories within a story. And this is an absolute classic. The two strangers meet and they have to tell them about their past. And this is over and over again that it happens. I'll come up with a few examples. So one of my favorites is Tales from the Dark Side of the movie. There is a kid in a Hansel and Gretel style scenario. He's been kidnapped by a witch, and he's telling the witch stories to delay her from cooking him. Or, oh, crikey, Dr. Terror's House of Horrors has a whole bunch of people in a train compartment, strangers meeting up. And again, they pass the time by telling their tales. So this is Charlie Brooker basically showing you, hey, I know how the horror anthology format works, and this is my setup. But it's interestingly limited. You've only got the 2 people, and you would usually have like 4 people.
Yeah.
The Tales from the Crypt movie, I think they started you with about 5 people and a mysterious stranger. So this is already a bit interesting, but it's bundled you up into somewhere a bit unfamiliar to start telling you the story. Sorry, go ahead, Haryan.
It's fine. Well, no, to add on that as well, you're clearly very isolated because the first thing you're shown in this, I'll call it a film, like the camera comes in through the window and it's like there's a snowstorm outside and it's just clear that they're very isolated. Even if, say, they're in a town, clearly there's a blizzard outside and they can't get away. So you're isolated with these 2 people and you're telling 3 stories, which is an interesting way to do it, as you say. So we'll get into the first.
Can I just ask, have you guys seen other horror anthologies? Does anything come to mind?
I've not seen horror in general.
I figured that might have been a
Did Treehouse of Horrors count from The Simpsons?
Kind of, yeah. They are basically that thing. Yeah, sure.
Oh, there you go. I've seen a lot of them.
How about you, that Quran guy? Any horror anthologies come to mind? Don't worry if you haven't.
Not really. No, I mean, I suppose maybe, I don't know. Would the Twilight Zone count?
Totally. Twilight Zone movie counts.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
And then, of course, I think and then I don't know. As a kid, definitely things like Goosebumps. Or what was the other one called? Oh my god, it escapes me.
Grizzly Tales for Gruesome
That's
Kids.
the one.
How good was that?
Yeah. What Proper Horror Show said.
All right. Oh, I'm showing my age again.
Yeah, I know, right?
We're going to have to do that, by the way. We're going to have to go back and do some Are You Scared of the Dark episodes.
Yes,
Tash
absolutely.
has actually reminded me something really important. Guys, let's have that like smashed.
Yeah, with a snow globe.
Absolutely. Let's do it. Oh, guys, yes, you're doing brilliantly. Yes, Creep Show. Absolutely. That's the one. One of the best ones. And two of you, you got this absolutely perfectly, one after the other. Creep Show is amazing, by the way, guys. That is Stephen King stories, directed by George Romero. Of,
wow.
Night of the Living Dead, Dawn of the Dead fame. It's
nice.
amazing.
What was Elvira in again?
Oh, the one she was in. She had her own movie and she's had a special, and she was a horror host. I think she might have had cameos and other stuff, but it doesn't come to mind, I'm afraid.
Okay. We need to talk about her again.
Yeah, we really should. We really should. I mean,
no reason at all. Just just haven't mentioned her in a while.
All right. Let's move on. So we've got our protagonist. Sorry, Harry.
Yes.
I get a little excited about anthologies.
I know. I don't want to get in the way of your excitement. So yes, Matt tells me of his first story, and it's a story of why he has come to this cabin. So it turns out that Matt used to be, because it's all Black Mirrors like this. It's kind of a sci-fi near future type technology. So there's technology that lets you get a live feed of what someone sees. So he links up to this dorky looking dude. It's, me in sick form. And he's out there. A special thing they did for Christmas was get these guys and get them to crash Christmas parties to try and get laid. So he says, Matt says, like, oh, I'm big into human psychology. I know how it works. So, I'm a pickup artist that helps nerds. So he's helping this nerd try and get a girl. He's like, who do you like? They've got cool like ways to hide that he's getting help. So he's tapping his beer glass whenever he says yes or no, things like that. Turns out he wants this kind of emo looking girl who's got a blonde friend. So goes over. He says, doing all the manipulative tricks like, oh, talk to the blonde first, keep your attention on her, or make the other girl jealous and want to lean in and get to know you a bit more. Also, you won't look needy and all this stuff. And, this guy's at the Christmas party. He's like, who are you? I don't recognize you. And he's just searched him up on like Facebook and says, oh, just say you went to this barbecue and that he wore a pork pie hat. And obviously the guy's got a thing in his ear to listen to it all. So he, it's like Chinese whispers. He says like, oh, you had a poor guy hat. He's like, what? It's like pork pie hat.
It was a really nice touch, wasn't it? You've got this fancy technology, but it's not perfect. Do you recognise the actress there?
She looked familiar.
She will be. Okay, so that is Natalie Tennant from show Nymphadora Tonks in Harry Potter.
That was it, yeah.
And also Osha in Game of Thrones.
Nice.
Yeah, it's got a nice sort of wild
she was, yeah.
energy to her.
Got the crazy girl eyes.
yeah.
Nice.
Which worked here because, so after a bit of manipulating, Joe's like asking Matt while he's saying the story. He's like, well, actually, no, they get to that in a bit. So, they need to go with a new plan because this kind of emo girl, she's almost in a world of her own and doesn't really care about the classic tactics. And Matt's there like, oh, this is weird. So he goes for another tactic. He says, go through alone and then kind of make yourself seem like an outsider as well, being like, parties are for gimps, you're on drugs. Get into a personal story about that. He says at one point, like, oh, I want some drugs. And Matt's just like, no, you don't.
Yeah.
So they end up talking in private. Getting into deep, meaningful conversation, all that, and he's like, "Oh, you're leaving this job." She says, "Yeah, I think so." He's like, "Oh, well, you should X, Y, Z." Encouraging her to do what he thinks best for her because he wants to shag her. Classic man.
Can I ask, what did you think of the PUA stuff he was doing?
I can imagine it would work. Well, it's. I wouldn't be surprised if Charlie Brooker went on some YouTube videos of pickup artists and wrote it based off that.
It felt very authentic to me.
Yeah, exactly. Because I mean, Charlie Brooker. I mean, I've got some of Charlie Brooker's books as well. Apparently, he sucks with women and he just can't read them. So I reckon he did do research on this, or even maybe got someone else to, maybe even got a pickup artist to help write this. So it did feel. It felt like watching a pickup artist video on YouTube.
I would say where was Roosh? Where was Roosh V at the time?
Do you know what he's up to now?
Oh yeah, he found God, didn't he?
It's amazing, isn't it? I think I don't know. There's a glimmer of hope there.
Where did he find him?
Hope.
Probably one of these pickup artist meetups or something.
Oh, come on, guys! Come
Try
on.
to get on some Christian girl.
I'm just saying. God, have you ever heard of God having a girlfriend?
No blasphemy on stream.
Yes.
Just saying.
Oh, where's the thing?
I could have said a joke.
Here we go.
So, important bit as well. When she's like, okay, I'll come back to you with my decision on what we should do. She goes off. He's there then talking to Matt, saying it doesn't feel right what he's doing, like, because pickup artistry should make you feel like a bit of a douchebag, which obviously this guy does. So he's like talking to him out loud now because he thinks he's alone. She comes back and notices it, but doesn't mention, like, she doesn't say who you're talking to or anything like that. But she's like, I made my decision, like, come back to mine. And then at this point, it goes back to Joe and Matt, and Joe's like, oh, you didn't watch them bang, did you? He's like, oh, no, I'm not like that.
Yeah.
It's just me, and I mute it. And then it goes to this where it's like a whole audience.
So can we stay on this for a bit? Because I just think this is really interesting. Like, the PUA stuff is, in 2021, in current year, it feels like it's a bit of a dated thing, I think we'd say. But it's still really interesting what Charlie Brooker's bringing. Like, this is funny. This works for me. The whole, the idea of getting coached through it and giving unusual responses. It's a great source of comedy and drama and sort of interest. Effectively seeing someone do a scam. Sorry, Richard. PUA is a pickup artist. So basically, someone who has. I think any definition I give will be a bit fraught. If you know what I mean by that.
Think the film Hitch with Will Smith.
Yeah. So basically,
that's essentially what it is.
Basically, people worked on effectively a science of flirting and pulling women, specifically in sort of pubs and venues. So, okay, Richard, it looks like you know what I mean by that. So good. I'll leave it there. So it feels like sort of an old thing now, but it's still really interesting. It's good for a sort of source of tension, seeing it from both sides. Will he pull it off or not? But also it's raising really interesting themes already, that he is... The fact that this is a service that can be sold to someone, that you would have that trouble relating, and that you could have this as a service and not a sort of organic community thing. But also...
Well, it's both, yeah.
Yeah. But it's also getting that thing of... He's slipping in this idea already of the opportunity of technology that lets you be coached through this pickup artistry is also a vulnerability. So when he's saying, like, it's just us, right? No. There's this whole bunch of guys. Your privacy is not there.
Yeah.
I'll also note some of the names are fantastic. Fappuccino.
Oh yeah.
For Black Mirror aficionados, there are a lot of in-jokes in this. So Pie Ape is a reference to Charlie Brooker's other shows, and I Am Waldo is a reference to the 3rd episode of Black Mirror. So he's slipped lots of these into the show. But yeah, it's just already that idea of technology might help you, but it takes a cost as well.
Yeah, it's a I mean, Charlie Brooker said this about the show himself. Like, he'll write some episodes and be like, "Oh, should we just get rid of technology?" But
Where's my TED meme? Damn it!
yeah, exactly. But yeah, obviously, even writing these shows, he's still like, "No, technology is obviously a good."
There is just something I wanted to that happens, and this is quite important. I'm sorry to break up the story, but this happens in the middle of the story. That John Hamm gets interrupted by Rafe Spall, who just notices the clock.
Yeah.
Oh,
Joe
yeah.
points the clock out.
Yeah.
And that, yeah. Why? Well, we don't know yet. But he's concerned.
It's interesting in terms of again, we're spoiling this whole episode, so I'm not going to say, but just this is important in the storytelling way, in that basically what has happened already is that they've smuggled a really important bit of storytelling in already at this point. At this point in the story, you've got no idea where anything is, but you kind of accepted it and you're just sort of going with it.
Yeah.
And this attention to the clock is bringing up the idea of like the time tension, the ticking clock. You're going to have to resolve something. Your time is running out. And it's just bringing your mind to the idea of, I'm enjoying this story, but I don't really know where I am or what the heck is going on.
And the characters don't seem to either. It
sort of flashes your attention to it and then moves you off it and makes you feel a bit uneasy.
Yeah.
And we're doing a horror story.
Yeah.
We want to be a little bit uneasy, don't we?
Well, yeah, and the only person that acts like he knows what's going on and is completely comfortable, it turns out a massive manipulator. So. Yeah.
Oh gosh, sorry, Harry, you're so right. You're so right. Yeah, the fact that this is the other bit of information that has just been smuggled into us straight away. Is like, oh yeah, this guy is very good at manipulating people. He's really fun and charismatic, but we've got the information that he is a master manipulator.
Yeah, I mean, that's all pickup artistry really is. It's just, yeah. Well, I won't go into detail on that, but yes, she invites him back to his house, and the lads are going mental. It's like, oh my god, it's his first time. And then when they go in, she's like, oh, go to the bedroom, and they're like, what a chad. That wasn't a meme at the time, but
thank you, Maverick.
So he goes in, he starts talking to them again. He's saying like, I don't feel comfortable with this, it's going too fast. And they're like, stop being a wuss, what you're doing, you've got this far, it's just because it's so sudden, all that. And she comes back in with 2 drinks and says, oh, you're standing. And I think also she noticed he was talking to himself. So, yeah, and the guys are like, when it's like, oh, I'm not going to see tits, am I? I want a refund.
yeah.
So it's community, but it's also, still a transaction or service, if you will.
I love this shot so much, though. This is just like the red light there. It's like it's not just that it's sleazy. The choice of the red just also brings in the danger.
Yeah,
because this is gonna pivot. This is gonna pivot in the best way.
Yeah, because she puts him on the bed and straddles him, and she's like, "Oh, I know what you're going through. I was put on these drugs, and they silenced the voices." And he's like, "What do you mean?" It's like, "Oh, I hear the voices too. No one understands me." And he's like, "No, it's a pickup artist. it's this whole community of guys." And she goes, "Yeah, no one understands me either."
Yeah.
And then she's like, "Drink," and he takes a bit of a gulp, and he's like, "What's in that?" She's like, "Oh, I don't know."
Yeah, I don't matter.
While he's panicking, and all the guys are still watching, they're like, "What the hell is going on?" And they kind of realize at that point, oh, he's dead. And it is quite a moment because everyone's panicking apart from the girl, and the girl's just like, "Oh, I'm finally committing suicide, and I've got a guy with me to see on the other side." But the voices tell me it's all great. And
it's extremely intimate as well, because you're seeing through his eyes.
Yeah.
I mean, I don't know about you. I've this is something that, I think it would be a braver decision today, but I think Charlie Brooker makes this guy quite sympathetic.
Oh,
Like
The
definitely.
nerd, yeah.
Yeah. I don't think
Yeah.
he'd be written as sympathetically now, but the empathy is there. He's a nice guy. He doesn't know how to talk to women, and he wants to.
Yeah, and
And-
well, but you put it bluntly, the guy's probably how Charlie Brooker saw himself at the time. Because I don't think he'd married Courtney Hook by this point.
No, what Charlie Brooker puts of himself into Black Mirror is a very, very interesting topic. Actually, you can go on for that for quite a while. He's a very interesting man. I may not agree with him on a lot, but he's very interesting, and I respect his thinking a lot. Yeah, so you get this quite thing. I mean, sorry, that crime guy sort of skipped over you here a bit.
No,
I mean,
please don't.
how are you feeling with this? This is a first viewing for you.
Yeah, I felt well bad for this guy. I genuinely felt really bad for him, because even in a sort of, I know I mentioned it, Hitch, the sort of like the main protagonist in that, it's an interesting point that you raised, because I think if I remember correctly from that film, they treat sort of like the guys looking to get women, they sort of mock them, and they treat them as sort of like jokes. But this guy seemed quite genuine. He wanted to connect with somebody, and it was interesting that the person that he found was someone who was actually an outsider in their own sort of social circles, and that was actually something that he could genuinely relate to. And also just I'm trying to think of the word, but the fact that he wanted to sort of back out of it, and actually just and actually try and get to know her without the voices in his ears telling him what to say. He wanted to give it a shot. I think it was a good little, for a short little bit, I thought it was a good little character development. Obviously it goes in the direction that it goes in, and not many, I certainly kind of saw it coming when she saw him talking to himself, but nonetheless,
that's what I wanted to ask you, because I completely didn't see it coming at all the first time.
Okay.
And it hit me like a sledgehammer.
Yeah, I felt like there was going to be a bit of like she'd misinterpret what was going on. Although, actually, to be fair, I mean, it was one of two things, because obviously it sort of goes in the way like, oh, they're watching, aren't they? I bet they love it. And obviously as she's starting to strip down, and you're kind of thinking, is she doing this for their enjoyment? Is she aware that he's sort of working, that he's being sort of guided by pickup artists? But given the sort of like the nature of the show, or like from what I was assuming we would be watching, I thought, yeah, it's gonna be more like, it's going to be a more sinister turn, a bit of a darker turn, and it was going to be something along the lines of, yeah, she's probably like schizophrenic, she's probably hearing voices in her head as well. I hated being right, because I felt really sorry for this guy.
Yeah, I mean, imagine going in for your first bang and something like that happens. Like,
I know, right?
Yeah, you feel bad for him. It's the situation has flipped, and I think that I mean, you don't have to like the guy to enjoy the death, right? Anyone who has seen I Still Know What You Did Last Summer and watched Jack Black's uncredited character get offed knows what I'm talking about. But the fact that you feel kind of sympathetic for this guy really helps sell it. So you're not just getting scared. It's like, it's a bit gut-wrenching, isn't it?
Yeah.
And on top of that, you're guided not just by him reacting, you get the reaction of John Hamm and the whole chorus of people. And this is, it's a bit sly. It's manipulating the audience a bit, but it blooming well works. Their reaction becomes our reaction.
Yeah, and the whole the other good thing about this is there's not really any point to this story other than getting to the next bit. This whole story is a plot device, but it's still really engaging. Because the eye technology never, like the see through someone else's eye technology, never comes up again. It's only in this
No.
story, but
No,
yeah,
it's been used in previous Black Mirror episodes.
yeah,
Is why they dropped it in. But
Yeah.
there is, there are 2 bits of information that they've smuggled in. Guys in the chat, I wasn't sure how to approach this, so I'm going to try and talk about what this Christmas special does for the anthology format. I'm going to try and do it at the end. So when I talk about information being smuggled in, bear with me. I feel in a way I should talk about it as a coherent segment, but I'll do it at the end. But it's important for the overall effect of the story that little nuggets of information get dropped. So we do get that he's a manipulator, that he understands psychology. But we also get that he's got a little bit of a legal problem. Very important.
what did
Right?
Matt?
That he's done something illegal with this.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
That he was not meant to be watching. He was not meant to be broadcasting.
Yeah. So yeah, I mean, well, because straight after this, he died. When he died, yeah, just first thing he says is, right, we don't know each other. Delete everything. Just get rid of it. Acid wash it, whatever. Do it.
Burn it all down.
Clinton.
Yep.
Yeah. And then yeah, so he trashed it all, puts it in a bin, and then slowly walks downstairs. And he's clearly trying to be quiet because he steps on a giraffe at a toy giraffe or whatever at the time. And if there are toys on the floor, you'd keep looking at the floor and be careful about that. But I don't know, he's tired or something. But then he ends up just kicking more toys. And I mean, I didn't like that because it's kind of like, if you're so worried about waking her up, look where your feet are.
Yeah, but for me, this was like Charlie Brooker's just typical comedy. I mean, the toys that he knocks over just happen to be the most ridiculously loud ones.
Oh yeah,
and that was just his. I think that was just him inserting his.
And then
his quite comical touch into it. I liked it. I thought it was quite funny because you've obviously had this massively serious sort of thing going on happen, and you just needed something just to lighten the mood a little bit. So yeah, why not wake up the entire house with your baby child's kicking noisy toys?
Yeah. So it wakes up his wife, which is obviously what he was trying to avoid. And she's like, "What are you doing?" And like when he's telling the story to Joe, he doesn't actually tell him what happened. He just says, well, he doesn't say they had an argument or anything. It's just like, oh, she blocked me, and then goes into saying, what happens with that. Just assuming he hadn't been blocked before. And yeah, I mean, this was the point of the first story, just to get to this bit, and it does it great. It does it in a great way, apart from the toy thing. So yeah,
there is
when
a
you get
certain complaint of your man should know what blocking is.
Yeah, that as well. But I get it's for the audience, and it's Christmas, and there are 2 people, and they've not spoken to other people potentially for 5 years. So I'm like, I just mansplain things that people know. So.
Do you want to go over blocking for people? I'm really hoping that everyone has actually watched this. I don't want to be spoiling this for anyone.
I mean, yeah. So,
but in case you haven't, we'll explain.
So yes, I mean, she had enough for him, so she blocked him, and blocking basically means people only turn up as this greyish silhouette, and their voice is really muffled, and you absolutely cannot tell what they say. It also stops you from contacting them in any way. He says usually it only lasts an hour, as in when women are annoyed, they'll block you for an hour. But it's like when it stays on, it's just impossible. She went off got custody of the kid as well. And he just can't contact her in any way because he's blocked. Tries to phone her. I mean, it's all done through your eye thing or whatever's in your eye.
Yeah.
And he says as well, you can't.
Z eyes.
It's like you can't take it out. So yeah, I mean, it's obviously this for the audience, but it's not the worst thing to do in the world. So there you go. He got blocked, and she went off, and he said that's why he came here to kind of just get away from it all, basically get away from his past. So yeah, then we get into the second story because he's asked, well, is that how you made your living though? And he's like, no, that was just a hobby. here was
Yeah.
my job. And then we go on to the story of Greta, not Greta Thunberg, but
Oh,
another.
Greta.
Might as well have been.
Yeah, because I quite like the way this story starts off as well, because it does like an ADR of a voiceover of like clearly what's in her head. I did find this bit. I did find the food bit funny though, because the food. So this nurse comes in with the food, and she's like, "Oh, you've got a quick snack before your operation." And she's like, "Oh, you can have food before a surgery." It's like, "Oh, wonders of modern technology." That's all fine, but I mean, she looks at the food and she thinks, "Oh, that toast is overdone for me. Should I say something? Should I not?" And then she decides to say it. And then the nurse is like, "Okay, I'll go and make up some more." Looking annoyed as she goes out. Go on.
I'll say that's really interesting. You say that about that being fine when she's like, "Oh, the modern wonders of modern technology."
Yeah.
Because how you felt about the description of the block button in the show was how I felt about that little moment. I thought to myself, surely you'd know, wouldn't you, that you can eat?
Well, given my girlfriend was supposed to have surgery today and wasn't given didn't actually know everything about it till today. No, I can totally understand that. Plus, it'll be the NHS.
I mean, I've had enough operations to know nil bar mouth. So I mean that was quite. Yeah. I mean, obviously, yeah, it's just a bit of like, I don't know if exposition is the right word for it, but it's just informing the audience that technology's come to a point now where you can sit down and have a meal before you go in for an operation. And I was a bit like,
exposition is exactly the right word.
Perfect.
Yeah.
And I thought, okay, that's interesting because I would have loved to have had a meal before I went down. But,
Tash was very hungry today.
I can imagine.
I thought you were going to say Tash had a meal before she went down. But...
No, she did not. That is why she was very angry today, along with having her operation cancelled. But
I slipped that one by you. But
what was weird?
Sorry to hear about that, Tash. By the way, that's rubbish.
Yeah, that sucks.
We're thinking of you. We're thinking of you, love.
Yes, but no. What was weird in this bit was she says, "Oh, you got time for a quick snack," and brings this like massive meal of jam, bread, coffee, and you think maybe, so operation in 20 minutes or so, but no. She when she says, "Oh, can you make me some more?" As the woman goes out, as the nurse goes out with the food, the other nurse comes in with the anaesthetic, and it's like, so the operation's now. I mean, I get why they did it for the story.
Yeah,
but it was just
for me, this is really effective character work.
Yeah,
I just feel we know this woman straight away. She's played by Una Chaplin, by the way, Charlie Chaplin's granddaughter, and our second Game of Thrones star so far.
Oh wow!
I know they're cramming him in.
Who's she in Game of Thrones again?
Oh, now this is a while because obviously Game of Thrones is dead to me. She's Robb Stark's wife.
Yeah.
Was it Talisa?
I don't remember.
Steve.
I don't know. She's called like
Jimbo.
Jamie in the books or something.
Yeah. It was someone else. This is embarrassing. I used to. If the stream is interested, I used to be a Game of Thrones obsessive. I was so into it. I was into my full Song of Ice and Fire. I knew the deep theories. Waiting 10 years for a book will kill that for you. I don't care anymore.
Anyway.
Yeah, but
yes.
Perfect casting, perfect delivery. You know this woman straight away from this scene. You know so much about her. Like, the details, I mean, it's just... She's wealthy, she's into tech, she's well presented, and she's nicely demanding. She's picky, but she will, she wants everything just right. And they deliver all that perfectly. Very efficient writing.
Yeah, exactly. And she's got a weird thing with the toast, like even a little quirk like that. It's like, oh, I'm interested in this character. They have a quirk. She's then put under the anaesthetic, and you still hear her thinking throughout, and then it goes to a weird bit where it's like, she then says, "I can't see," and then she doesn't know where she is, and she's like, what's going on, basically? And then she's like carried around, and then she sees herself in a reflection as this like little metal ball, and then this egg. And she's just thinking, what's going on? And then cuts to Matt looking at the egg with a thing on, talking to it. And it's just long story short, basically, this thing is called a cookie. It's all explained by Matt. They put this little ball circuit in your temple, just under the skin, and it picks up your brain waves some sci-fi way, and then basically takes everything your brain that it can take, and then basically starts thinking that it's the human, but it's actually just code and complicated algorithms and all that, making them
it's simply
think they're
a
human.
simulation of the brain waves that it has observed by being placed within you.
It's a perfect copy, basically.
I thought you'd have a nitpick over this.
What would it be?
I thought you'd have been really bothered by the fact that the cookie has a camera in it.
No, because you can make cookies with cameras in it, like tiny, like that. I mean, we're already there. We've got a camera that's HD, the size of a grain of sand. Yeah, I'm not bothered by that, especially with all the technology we see. So
I just thought you might have asked why a cookie has a camera in it, but
no, I can get why, because if it thinks it's a human, if it's blind, I mean, it's got a microphone in it as well. It can hear things, and I get why. Why does an Alexa have a microphone in it? And I get why it has a camera as well. Yeah, so it thinks it's still human, or at least still has the two main ones anyway, hearing and sight, and also wherever you place it, it can look out to the main room and all that. No, I didn't have a problem with that. Plus, cameras are probably like, add an extra camera in for a penny or something. Yeah, why not?
All right, I would have thought that I mean, this is really nitpicky. It's a cool effect. It's lovely. It looks amazing, and having a point of view helps you connect to the cookie before you realize what it is. But it did sort of bug me just a tiny bit. That it's like this thing doesn't need to have a camera. It will connect to a camera. It will connect to a system, but it's just.
I mean,
a program?
I don't want to say it too loud, just in case, but our Alexas, they have cameras, and the cameras, and they're no bigger than what's on that cookie. I mean, even your laptop will have a camera about the same size, maybe not as high definition, perhaps, but it's still the same size. I didn't find that a problem. In fact, I just sort of going back a little bit, that operation bit, I felt I was almost half expecting that we were going to get like a miniature version of Awake. I don't know if you've ever seen that film, Hayden Christensen.
Oh my god,
that one.
Star Wars.
Yeah, no, I haven't.
You've not seen that?
2005, yeah.
Yeah, it's a pretty good film actually. Yeah, pretty good. But it's
nice.
Yeah, I felt like we were going to get like that kind of experience in this. So again, just like a little twist. I quite appreciated that.
Oh, well, it's Hayden Christensen. So this cookie is a perfect copy of Greta. In terms of her mind, and it reminded me a lot of Soma, and I was like, oh, I know this stuff. This will raise up ethical questions.
I need to watch your Soma streams. Sorry, Haryan.
Oh, it's okay. They're very long. So,
when are you going to complete it?
Fuck. You nearly made me swear. Well done. So, Matt's saying again, this is a service. We've made a copy of you at Greta's behest, and basically you're going to be a slave to her household. And he puts her in a little simulation room that's obviously in, part of the cookie software, and she has a control center, and it's basically, you control the toaster, you control what food needs ordering, you control the temperature, you control curtains and all that. You are there to make her life like as easy as possible inside the home, you know. And she's obviously like, you're not going to make me a slave. So he's like, okay. And then he just skips 3 weeks of time in her simulation. Just on a whim as well. He's like so nonchalant about it. He's like, you're not going to do it? Okay, 3 weeks. Yeah. Yeah, because then after that 3 weeks, she's clearly gone mad. And she's like, oh my God, there's nothing to do. Give me something to do. He's like, you know, oh, your toast, you know, you did a demo of the toast. Like, oh, your toast is done now. Just how you like it. If you don't want to, you know, the only thing I can give you is control of this house. How do you feel about that? She's like, you know, no. It's like, okay, 6 months. Like literally no chance or anything. It's just 6 months.
We have a flip back into the I don't know what you want to call it. Should we call it an cabin? Let's call it a cabin. I saved this quote because I thought it was amazing. He says there, the trick of it lay in breaking them, but not letting them snap completely.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And look at this contrast. We saw him in a lovely, clean area, pristine, suited. Yeah. And look at him now. Like, look at the state of him.
Yeah, 5 o'clock shadow, all that.
Yeah, almost makes you wonder, doesn't it?
Yeah, you just like subtly the ideas are coming in here. Like, this is a man actually who's had quite a fall from grace. No one has said to you, Matt, it looks like you have had quite a fall from grace. Yeah, the way some bad writing would. It's, again, these concepts, this information is being parceled out and no one is spelling it out to you. And I blooming love this. This is intelligent writing.
I didn't get this in Silent Night, Deadly Night 2, I've got to tell you that.
Really? That shocks me.
Yeah, although he did say garbage day. I did enjoy that.
He did.
So yeah, when he's says to Greta like, "Oh, you know, I'm done with your control." He then starts doing a manipulation tactic he was doing with the nerd. The whole story starts saying that. So clearly he's still thirsty. In this greasy mindset. Yeah,
it was a great little callback, wasn't it?
Yeah, well, it was a callback, but also this story will have been while he's married at the time as well. So he would have been trying to pick up women while he's with his wife, which I find interesting. Yeah. So yeah, and then you get a little montage of Cookie Greta doing all of Greta's chores basically, and then they have a little conversation. What's it called? Joe says, you know, that's barbaric. You've made a slave, and I'm more on Matt's side where it's like, well, no, it's just software. But obviously, Joe just says, well, it may be software, but it thinks it's a person, and apparently that's good enough for him to say it's human. And then Matt's just like, oh, you're wrong, but I can tell you're a good person. And that's what gets Joe to then say, no, I'm not a good person. Let me tell you my story, but with better dialogue.
Yeah, we better hold off before we go into that. Well, how did this story work for you? Because I've always felt like this was a riskier bit.
This story definitely has a bit of a moral conundrum, doesn't it? I mean, it's interesting, Haryan, that you sort of side with the it's just nuts and bolts and algorithms and software. But there's no technology really that sort of thinks on that sort of conscious level, because essentially, it's not just the memories and almost like preferences that it's uploading. Brilliant. It's
brought into control.
It is
one man can do this.
It is kind of a copy paste of a conscience, isn't it? And I kind of questioned why this sort of technology would exist in the first place, like how practical it would be. I mean, wouldn't it be easier just to sort of upload your own preferences? Like I like my toast cooked for 3.5 minutes. So do that every time.
I think the reason they do this is because basically there's no one who knows you better than yourself.
Yeah, but at the same time you could just.
But
absolutely. But there's nothing to stop you from inputting that sort of thing. manually.
No,
like,
I know.
Alexa, set my alarm. Oh shit, it's talking to me.
Fun fact, Alexa's actually a person, and we have enslaved her. Just copies
imagine
and
that.
copies and copies of this Alexa.
But yeah, I don't know. It wasn't the fact so much that it made me feel uncomfortable with the whole like a little mini version of what would be me inside this egg or this cookie. It was more of just how practical it would be. Because imagine, you if you're talking about Skynet, becoming self-aware and taking over the world. You're giving this thing Wi-Fi access for a start.
Well, I would.
You want to if the tech wants to revolt. I'm not being funny, but it's essentially got a connection to the the World Wide Web. It's primed.
I would suggest we have a large amount of technology that is way beyond practical, because it's
nothing that's self-aware.
Not yet.
Oh well.
Not yet, but then you'll find these ethical questions. If you, bloody iRobot again. Will Smith again. iRobot tackles this. It's the and even games like Detroit Become Human. They tackle these questions. Once you give something sentiency, or once you make something sentient, then should we be using them the way that we currently use like your kettle or your washing machine?
Well, that's an interesting one. So there are two bits of this, and I don't know how to approach this. Like on the more literal level, there is a challenge. Like this story needs you to take the cookies seriously. So a purely digital personality, right?
Yeah.
It needs you to take them seriously and value them as life form, which I think is a genuine challenge. The fact that they represent this digital life form with a human persona, as they have here, is part of what they have to do to get you to take it seriously, to help make it easier for you to believe that this is a thing with value and emotions and worth, etc., etc.
Yeah.
It is getting to what it means to be human thing, and the story absolutely relies on it. And to an extent, a criticism of Black Mirror is that it goes to the well on this quite a lot. I'm not as familiar with it. I've seen it all, but I don't remember it. The first 2 seasons in this I've seen multiple times over and over. And the Netflix stuff, I've only seen select episodes multiple times, but I know they used the idea of cookies quite a few times.
Okay. What, these specific cookies, or?
The cookie technology, they have used it multiple times.
Okay. I hope they haven't used it more than twice, because to use it 3 times is immoral.
Absolutely. Nice. But there's this other one. So we've gone over an hour and a half in. I need to cram in a massive reach. We've been far too respectable.
Go on.
Right. So, basically, this show is trying to get
brilliant.
Really, I'm going to use it over and over again. Gosh darn it. Okay, like symbolically, I think what this is talking about is something that, sod it, we've been monetized long enough. Something that the Unabomber Ted Kaczynski.
Brilliant.
Why use his full title?
Well,
call him Uncle Ted.
I didn't use his full title. I didn't say Dr. Kaczynski.
That's true.
This is probably quite alarming to people who just came in for a standard horror stream. So, but Uncle Ted here, Theodore Kaczynski, wrote quite extensively, and I read his manifesto recently. I got really interested after watching a TV series about him, Manhunt.
Hello,
and
Prevent.
it's got Who's the guy who's the guy whose vision in the Marvel
Oh, I
films?
can't
Have
remember.
you-
Oh yeah. I know who you're talking
What's
about.
his name? Come on, guys. It's
Google is my friend.
What's his name? I know chat will be here soon.
Paul
Come on.
Bettany. Is it Paul Bettany?
Yes, Paul
Bettany.
Bettany. Thank you. So he was Ted Kaczynski in this series, Manhunt, and I ended up reading his books, and he's very interesting in his idea of how you get technology to enable things, to ease your life up, but you actually end up quite enslaved to it.
Yeah.
You end up building your life around technology rather than technology around your life. It is the based version of Fight Club's maxim that things you own end up owning you.
Okay.
Yeah.
And so in this case, I'll take that off because I probably annoyed Susan a bit too much already.
Just put her face there.
Oh, God.
Where though? Well, I didn't say where. I said put her face there.
Oh, my. Family-friendly stream. But basically, I think this is a really good symbolization of how you get technology and effectively you end up enslaved to it. So this woman has literally got a version of herself trapped permanently working the technology. And I mean, I'm maybe not super clear here, but I'd like us to think about what we're doing. Like, I know I take a mobile phone around with me a lot. I have to plan things to a certain extent around what my technology can accommodate, you know?
My wife hates that I'm always on my phone. always on
the phone. You end up working around it. And the idea that this woman, in a very real form, always has some part of her mind permanently hooked on the technology and being made to work it for her is, I think, actually brilliant symbolism of a very real issue.
I only reject its slavery because this isn't human. It's
Oh yeah,
it's
no,
a robot.
I wouldn't go down the slavery route, but because it doesn't meet the definition in my mind. But it's just the practicality, and I think the risks associated with having something that's sentient that could, if left unchecked, could lead to a Skynet situation. Let's say. I think it would be easier for them to remove that part of the program because that's all it is. It's just a program that has that sentience but knows the preferences. So, Bic, make my toast. Okay, well I know how that's done. You just remove that bit when you're uploading. Just sorted. What's the problem?
Yeah, it's good symbolism.
Yeah.
I mean, I've done the phone bit. I mean, it works socially as well. The way we do our socializing, the way meeting up in person has become like, quite a schlep. Whereas, why meet up in person? Why have a conversation? Just send a text message. It's easier. And then doing things in person becomes harder and harder. If anyone is interested in this train of thought, Patrick Deneen's got some really good writing on it. And he's an interesting guy because he doesn't blame the technology. He says that effectively the technology got popular because we had effectively desired to be more independent and less dependent on communal structures. And so we wanted things like technology to take the place of that. He's got a very interesting perspective on it. But I won't derail a horror film analysis stream by talking about Patrick Deneen.
Well, at least he got you off Uncle Ted.
I know, it got a bit dangerous tonight, didn't it?
Fez, is that a 3210, 3310, 5110? I'm intrigued.
Ooh,
And is it still on its first charge?
Rip talk. Murgoot knows exactly what's going on. Based. Thank you, Murgoot. Yeah, I feel you, but I dropped Facebook a long time ago. It's weird.
Yeah, The
You
only
don't want to
thing
give out your
stopping
phone
me,
number straight away. It's like it's hard to connect.
the only thing stopping me from deleting Facebook is that it's exclusively how some of my friends from school communicate with me. So I'm like, oh, I can't.
Is that through what through the Messenger app?
Just I literally just use it
You
through
can
the Messenger.
you can still disable Facebook and still have the Messenger app up and running.
Really? Oh.
Just
Well, there you
that's
go.
what I do.
do that. Nice, nice.
Yeah.
All right, so we should probably move on a bit, but we got the idea. There's some great symbolism about how we sort of, we tie ourselves into technology, and in a way we're sort of hurting ourselves. We got that in there. And there's a wider thing about how, where is it? Gosh darn it, I saved this beautiful image. She ultimately ends up with nothing. The cookie version of her ultimately has nothing except her workstation. And her workstation actually isn't a workstation. It's a simulacrum. But it's there to make it easier for her to operate things. If that isn't making sense to you guys, you should have watched the episode. We're spoiling it. Don't rely on me.
Basically, a control center is. I mean, when he says the buttons are more there for show than anything, basically what that means is because she does have a human mind, she needs to physically actually touch something to make it, rather than just kind of mind control it. It's it's like, if I don't know, Harry Potter isn't a good example.
Star Trek.
And now I'm trying to think of a show with magic where you need like conduits to cast spells and stuff like that, like wands and staffs and stuff, and then others can just use their minds to cast the spells. It's a bit like that because she's not used to it. She needs the something physical, even if it's a simulation, to
well, it's
make
like
it
the
work.
Matrix. It's Morpheus. You think that's air you're breathing.
Yeah, exactly.
Or the steak you're eating.
Yes.
Yeah. And I mean, you're right, she's just a slave. She's basically a prisoner, assuming she's human, which I don't.
I find this deeply, deeply, deeply disturbing. She's made herself neat, but this is her expression at the end, and she looks utterly soulless as she serves herself. I'm just but I find it really disturbing.
But what's funny is that I don't think it will ever. I mean, she's already been broken, but she'd obviously rather be doing this and being productive for, as long as she's remained switched on, than she would say just having nothing to do, just nothing productive to do. Because that was a thing that used to happen in particularly gulags and other types of camps where the unwanted were. They were they just move railway spikes from one side of a yard to another, rocks and stuff, just doing something, but have it just not be productive. Whereas at least here, it's like, at least I'm letting my living self have an easier life. Like, you can see the productive side. So yeah.
Well, that is interesting. I mean, I find it. I think this is one of those quite dystopian, prescient ideas that Charlie Brooker's built in here. Like, this is someone who, if you compare her life outside of the cookie, like the real person's life, it feels quite hollow in a way. Even though she's got things, it does feel quite artificial. And this idea of the human having nothing else to do, no organic connections, but just a function to perform, I think is a sort of real nightmare that Black Mirror is trying to warn us about.
Yeah. And
Can I ask? Sorry, I cut you off there, Harry.
No, it's fine. Go on. No, go on. It's.
I just want to ask that crime guy if this story worked for you, is because I do feel like this is essential, obviously, for the rest of the story, but I could absolutely understand if people felt this was maybe a weak link.
No, I felt like it worked. I definitely felt like it worked, especially when when you sort of connect it to the rest of the episode. It definitely worked for me. Like I say, I mean, the only question I had about it was sort of like the practicality of the actual software itself. But other than that, you know, it did raise some good questions, and I thought the scene itself was really interesting. Yeah, I had no overall complaints about it, but yeah,
Well, it plays into his.
plays into the character.
Yeah, because he knows how to psychologically manipulate people.
Yeah, it's
laid on really thick with this.
It's character development without this sort of modern sort of trope of saying, you know, just having someone tell you, you know, you're actually seeing it play out. It's almost a lost art nowadays.
And you know, they do go on to. I mean, this is sort of hammering it home a bit, but it is darn important that we get it. They then do have this bit explicitly where Matt and Joe, John Hamm and Rafe Spall here, basically debate whether the cookie is real or not, is human or not. Which they obviously have to. There's some on about your fourth rewatch that this becomes sort of an interesting opportunity to look at the rest of the background there, because like you notice, like have you guys seen The Father?
No.
I watched Mauler review it.
Oh, Mauler's review was amazing. Yeah. Okay, that I will be spoiler free as best as I can be, but there's a thing where the setting, the scenery changes, and it's not announced, it just happens.
Okay.
And it's very important. They do the same thing here.
I thought they did, but I can never find details. Oh, because there's a microscope in the back.
That's exactly what I was going to point you to. There's a microscope, there's a backlit thing, which is mostly a source of light for the room, but there's this sort of low-key scientific material. You get glimpses of this room.
The Christmas stuff's gone as well. There's no tinsel.
Yeah, there's no food on the table.
Yeah. The room changes.
Look at
constantly.
the coat, the coat in the background, the red coat.
Yeah, it moves over and over. So every time you see in this room, I do think they take bits and bits away of it. It's oh man, it's
definitely
very sly. It's very sly indeed. Well, shall we move on? You did get us onto the start of our third story, our denouement.
Yes, this is Joe finally opening up about why he's in the cabin.
What triggers him to open up, Haryan?
He's told he's a good person by Matt, and he says, "No, I'm not," because he's being psychologically manipulated, but it's not announced.
And this is kind of the dynamic, isn't it? You have two characters who are contrasting. You know, you've got the straight man and the funny guy. You've got the Simon Pegg and the Nick Frost. You've got the gregarious, outgoing John Hamm. And you've got the very confused Rafe Spall. So we've been fascinated by John Hamm, who's commanded our attention for about 50 minutes. And then we just got a little curious about Rafe Spall and who he is, because he's not said much. But now we're now we get those details. Yeah,
absolutely. I just say so. Story begins. Just says, "Oh, her dad never liked me." So that's Scottish dad in the background, and then those two. And he just goes in a bit about their life, saying we were good together, we had a good time together, but. Then you get the karaoke night where he's obviously really, really drunk. Annoys her a bit. But then she goes up and starts singing some sort of love song. I can't remember the song. And then he's like really happy with her, and she seems a bit almost distant. And then they head home. He's very drunk still, but they head home, and then it cuts to another night where they are having dinner with some of what's her name, Beth's work friends. One of which is Asian, which I'm not just pointing out because I want to say, oh, diversity bad. No, there is a reason I'm pointing out that her work friend is an Asian man. So it goes on from there. When that night goes on, she's distant again. You know, Joe's trying to be like, you know, what's wrong? Are you all right? Anything I can do? And she just says, oh, I'll just go to bed. So he clears up. So he starts to try and empty the bin, and the bin a bit of a is it a contrivance a bit, but get the bin out, it's torn a bit, garbage all over the floor, and then he notices a pregnancy test in with the garbage that's positive, but it's like futuristic as well, so it's got a little animation of a baby playing.
Can I just pause a tiny bit here?
Yeah.
I'm just pointing out an Easter egg. Black Mirror fans, there's something beautifully disturbing and admirable. There is a song that Charlie Brooker keeps weaving in. Who said that 15 Million Merits was your favourite episode? One of you said it in the chat. If you remember that episode, it's the second of season 1. There's a song called Anyone Who Knows What Love Is. They keep weaving that song into the show, and it's become something that, if you have watched the show a bit, anytime you hear it, it's quite disturbing. And that is exactly what she sings here. So if you're just enjoying it, if you've been shown this episode randomly, I think it slides by, but for Black Mirror, people who've watched a few Black Mirrors, her singing this song is sort of a massive signal of creepiness. Sorry, so just dropping that in there.
Mm-hmm. Well, I didn't know that. I need to watch it again. Yeah.
I had no idea.
I'm hoping it works without it. It's just this sort of extra signal.
The pregnancy test. Yeah, so Joe finds it, goes into Beth as she's in bed and says, is this yours? Is this pregnancy test yours? It's positive. It says there's a baby. And she says, yeah, it's mine. And he gets really excited. He's like, gets the dad rabies. He's like, I'm going to be a dad. We can do so much. It'll be great. And the woman, and Beth's just like, nah, I don't want it.
Yeah, I know.
Wrong time for me. And then, I think this is something that it'd be quite hard to get written and put on TV these days, but a dad saying, I don't want you to kill an unborn child.
And criticising her for drinking while she's pregnant, yeah.
Yeah, and then he just outright says, you're being a... it was a really weird line, I thought. Not the best leader delivered, where he just says, you're being a bitch.
It is a weirdly delivered line. If you've seen it, this is a one way you would think, this is a bit odd.
Yeah, so, but then he starts getting angry and angry because she says, I really don't want it, it's not mine. And then eventually she just gives in and says, I'm not talking about it, block. And it kind of calls back to the story before where Matt was blocked by his wife.
Exactly.
And the next morning, he sleeps on the couch and he notices the silhouette going out, and he's just trying to stop her, saying, I'm sorry, I was drunk last night. Can we talk about it properly? No, she just drives off.
It is intense, isn't it? I do think it's very interesting that it's there's no metaphor here. It is just like he is saying that basically don't abort my child, and you've got to consider it, and it's interesting. I don't think he's made to look good here.
No, well, yeah, because when he's blocked and he's that grey silhouette, he throws flour vase across the room that smashes, and it's just even seeing that through her eyes, it's like, oh wow, that's really disturbing, more disturbing than if he was human and not actually shouting, but he's just this muffled,
I haven't made my mind up on this. I think it's interesting storytelling that I think his drunkenness and his aggressiveness is it's presented so that you think that is why she doesn't want to keep the baby.
Yeah, almost. And why she sneaks off, yeah.
But it also serves as a bit of a thing of just making his position de facto unfavourable.
Yeah. He is made to look bad. And then he goes into a bit of exposition of some time passed, I thought she'd be back, she wasn't. So he even says himself, I started acting a bit like a stalker. Went to her place of work, asked her the Asian guy and his girlfriend, like, what's going on? What's happened? Where is she? And they're like, oh, I've not heard from her for ages. And then he like, just runs off quickly, and the girl's like, wait, like, explain, Joe, what's going on? And the Asian guy's like, nah, let him go, which is another thing sprinkled in for later. So he talks about how he can't contact her or anything like that, but he did have, well, directly anyway, but he did have one way around it, which was he knew where her dad lived. So he started writing her letters, and then eventually, when no fruition came from that, he actually fully went and to the dads to just at the very least see what he could do. But he only ever looks at it from a distance. It'd be pretty bad to just go straight to the house as a blockman. And he also realised that she kept the baby. She's got the baby. He doesn't know what gender it is yet. But unfortunately, the way blocking works, the baby's blocked as well. It appears to be some sort of genetic thing that keeps it going. So interesting mechanic, but not a problem. Just
I mean, it's great use of a mechanic, isn't it? Yeah,
exactly. And it's just kind of, I don't. Cause you say this technology was used in the previous episode, but I've not seen the previous episode. So is it like an eye surgery thing?
Oh, not exactly. This blocking, I don't believe, turned up in this, but the idea that you have an eye that records everything, and
that's so. Is it like an eye surgery for that? Because I assume it's true that is done.
Yes. Right. If I remember correctly, so the ZI technology is the same, but you can't take out the digitally adapted eyes.
Yeah.
But you can take out the thing that mediates the information into a digital signal, and that was called a grain. That is in season 1, episode 3, The Entire History of You. And he talks about in this how he can't take his Z eyes out. But in season 1, episode 3, you could take out the grain. I won't give details of that. It's quite memorable. So there is a way around it that they kind of, I think, dodge in this. But I don't want to say it's a plot hole because I think there's probably some detail in here that I'm not remembering about why you can do it in one and not the other. More dedicated Black Mirror fans than me can... dig into that.
The only mechanic I was after was how do they get the technology in the eyes, but it seems to be rather than replacing your eyeball, it's something they put that signals to it.
I think so.
That makes a bit more sense. So the technology in that just transfer. I imagine it'd be like, oh, do you want the same block list? It's like, yeah, all right. So it just has a block list by proxy. So that makes sense. So
I mean, we should probably talk about the horror of blocking at the end of the episode. But
I do want to get into the blocking mechanic because I'd hate it if it was in real life. I hate blocking in general. I don't think it should be a thing on Twitter or Facebook. So obviously he goes back in every now and then to just to see his wife and what he thinks is his child. And then he says one time, oh, I went at Christmas when she was about 4, left her a little rabbit as a gift, like a toy wood rabbit, whatever. And he's like, oh, I could see that she was a girl. And he's just desperate to be her dad and be there for her, basically, but he can't because of this block thing. And it's also established that there's a legal precedent behind it. So if you're within 10 meters of someone you've blocked, the police turn up and put you in jail. And he found that out the hard way by bumping into her and being like, please unblock me. And then he just got arrested because she was like, help, there's a strange man. He's watched. So another time he's just watching the news one day and there's a rail accident, and that's how he finds out that his ex has died in the train crash. And he can see her, and it's established as well that he can't. She's blocked in like all images and things like that,
which is really creepy to think about the power of the company to be able to handle that. To just be like, your identity is is fair game now.
Yeah, exactly. So, and what made him realise more was that like he hadn't seen her face, even though she was alive for 5 years or something like that. And yeah, so he was really distraught when he saw her face. He's like, I didn't believe it was her.
Because there was a scene where he was looking at old photographs and literally he could not see her. She was greyed out in all of those.
Yeah, they were really well done as well, because there's one where he's got his arm around her shoulder and it's just around a grey person.
I just want to point out, like, there's a lot of footage of Blocky in this, and unless they found a clever way to do it, I know that unless they found a clever way around it, some very poor bugger was spending a long time doing rotoscoping in Premiere Pro to entirely cover someone up with a mask. And if you're not video editing, don't worry about that. But let me assure you that is painful, painstaking, and takes an absolute age if you want it to look good.
Yeah, I almost almost nearly jumped the gun at this, because when I saw that he could see her on the news, I was a bit like, hold on a minute.
Yeah.
And then they very clearly explained, like, when she died, the block died with her. And I was like, oh, that's consistent.
I think so, because when you die, you know, I take it just goes off your signal.
Yeah, well, it kind of like it's treated like a power of attorney. They cease to be once someone dies. So
yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
So because her block list is gone, it's like, oh, I'll be able to see my daughter. So he gets a snow globe, wraps it up because it's Christmas, puts From Daddy on the bottom, and heads over and goes up to her from. Don't say goes up to her from behind. She's got a back to him. Oh, that still sounds bad. He approaches
her. Yeah.
Approach child confidently, or whatever it means. And to say, go. I can't make it not sound bad. Goes behind her and says, like, hello, I'm your daddy, and she too.
God. Do you know?
Didn't even mean that.
If you had just spoken, right, without this, that sounds wrong. That sounds wrong. That's wrong. That would not have sounded as funny as it did.
I'm so sorry. I didn't even mean. I wasn't even building to that. That was.
Hello, darling. I'm your daddy.
I'm your daddy.
My face when Haryan said that.
No, I am so sorry. I'm so sorry she woke up your hedgehog from your reaction. But yes, turns out, it wasn't just for diversity reasons that I was complaining about. It matters. It's an Asian kid, right? Or half Asian. Clearly, you find out, she probably would have had a child with him, but this child she clearly didn't want to abort as well. Didn't want to abort, but at the same time she didn't want to deal with the whole fallout of people knowing that she had an affair and had a bastard child from it. So there you go. And he's just distraught from this. He's had 5 years thinking he's a dad and waiting for a moment like this, and it's just not real. He is. For ages, the digital interface created. I mean, it's kind of parasocial, right? It's a parasocial relationship. I know everyone started talking about this a couple of months ago, but this idea that it's a digitally mediated thing that didn't really exist, but he's put everything into this digital creation and credited that as a very important relationship. And then in reality, he finds out this with this absolute savage realization, actually, no, there's no connection between him and this child. Yeah, it's awful. And even the child's guardian hates him.
He
just doesn't have a chance.
Awful. No.
As he's going in the house, they have the little flashback scenes where, which I thought was a bit overdoing it until they got to the karaoke bit, and then it's like, oh, you need that karaoke bit because.
I don't know. I'm not sure about
it. It was pretty obvious. I mean, look at the screen. It's pretty obvious. we don't need it. We didn't really need it further spelling out for us.
Yeah.
No. So I agree with that. It's just when it's when she gets to the karaoke and she's singing and looking really nervous and up the Asian guy. It's kind of that. You're like that hits you a bit harder. But it's kind of if you just have that bit.
Yeah, I was gonna
think you
say
need the other two bits. Yeah.
I'd have been quite happy with just that one
I just
bit.
thought, yeah. I mean,
you've only seen them hang out with 2 people, and I don't think the Indian woman got her pregnant. So.
Well,
do you reckon?
let me tell
Anyway.
you a story about a woman who had who gave birth to a child, and it turned out that she was actually the biological aunt.
Well, she has a feminine penis.
Well, no, none of that. It was
Let
her.
me tell you a story all about how my life got flipped turned upside down.
That's another Will Smith
That's a Will Smith reference. Yes.
All right, shall we follow on from what happens from here?
So yes, she heads inside with Joe following, just looking utterly distraught and broken. And the grandfather's there, so really excited, saying, "Oh, you're all right. Do you want anything? Do you want some snacks or whatever?" And realizes that then, Joe's in the house, looking completely broken. And he's like, "What are you doing here?" And he's like, he just keeps saying over and over, basically, "Where's my daughter?"
Yeah, I want to see my daughter.
Yeah, just completely broken. And I did notice the first time watching round, but this room is the same as the cabin room.
Yeah.
Obviously with different decorations and the clock. The first thing you actually see in the room is the bird clock that he's talked about before. So
Yeah, Haryan, can I stop you there?
yes,
Good friend of the channel, HM, has come in, and I just want to check, HM. We're talking Black Mirror White Christmas. We're spoiling the heck out of it. Can I check you haven't, like, you've seen this? You're okay to be spoiled?
I will say, just while
make sure you're okay, HM.
Absolutely. Just while we're waiting to get an answer from Beyond the Pale. How you doing, by the way? It was going back to the last clip where you had the little Asian girl on there. As soon as she turned around, I was like, "Oh my god, I know what's happening here."
Yeah,
And it was all the way. Yeah, it proper hit me. I was like, "Oh my god."
well,
I know what's going on.
Yeah, I mean, well, 2 of the short stories, they're very, very. They've got big twists in them. The Greta one doesn't really, but
we're good, lads. We're good.
Let's do this.
oh god, have you seen what Tasha's just put?
Okay, hear me out.
Instead of "Here's Johnny," it's "Here's Daddy."
Oh, don't say it. We can clip
Well,
that.
it's her birthday tomorrow. That's all I'll say.
Oh no.
I'm cooking her a very nice meal.
Oh no. There's this thing like, can we just spend a tiny bit of time on? I absolutely love what Rafe Spall does in this bit. He is so broken.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
And he's not like a raving lunatic. Like I know many films would have him flip out and be angry, but here he's just broken and empty, but you still feel he's dangerous.
Yeah, Charlie Brooker is really good at kind of writing emotional men, really.
Yeah,
because
definitely.
yeah, usually they just
I would have
go all out. Yeah.
I would have loved it if he turned around to the old man at that point and went, "You've got red on you."
Nice. Oh no, you can't reference Shaun of the Dead at this point.
Why not?
Oh, because it's the most emotional moment. Wait, can I check? Have you 2 seen Dead Set?
Yes. Yes.
I've seen film.
It's where the 5G conspiracy was first born.
Was it?
Well, I mean, they literally have a 5G conspiracy.
Oh gosh! Oh my, that's amazing.
Yeah, if there was I think on my old Twitter account, I actually found the Dead Set webcomic, and literally they're protesting against 5G, and I was like, oh, here we go. Yeah,
it's amazing. Oh
yeah,
my God.
I think, but yeah, I digress.
That's like Charlie Brooker.
Yeah, it's
Dead Set,
utterly incredible. Again,
I'm pretty
men's emotions done very well.
Yeah, it's I think it's still on Netflix. Dead Set.
Yeah, it was last time I looked.
Yeah, definitely check it out. Scott Devine on the call.
I appreciate that you got the reference. I'm I'm giving you a thumbs up
Hey!
for that. Good on you. All right. So we got this. We've had some amazing emotions, but oh god, it's just this horrible thing. Something that comes through in every one of these stories is people being alienated. And now our protagonist has found out basically these connections he thought he had. He thought he had a daughter. He thought he had basically a father-in-law, and just all these people have just said no.
Well,
Rejection, no
he's
connection
literally
here.
a literal line is "There's nothing for you here." So, he thought he had at least something from a bad breakup, but no, there's nothing.
Yeah,
Nothing at all.
oh, so
And
heartbreaking.
he spent 5 years thinking he does. And he just keeps saying, "I want to see my daughter."
Yeah.
And then he's told, "Yeah, you have no daughter here," so he smashed him in the face with the snow globe out of anger. Which is what I mean. Like, there's a nuance here, because in these days it'd either be one way or the other. He'd either fully, break everything in the room, or be fully emotionless and just break down. But no, it's both with this one. And even if it is just one smash, he instantly realizes he's done wrong, because he kills his father-in-law. He kills the granddad, and he doesn't know what to do, because he's not got anything there, as he says. He didn't know what else to do, so he just went out and drove while ugly crying, leaving the snow globe there, and also the daughter. So first he goes into what he did, which was just drive, get some drink, sleep on the streets, and then he was picked up and put in the drunk tank, but then put in jail, because then he's asked, well, what happened at the house? Well, the father died, and what does the Asian kid do? Well, no one's coming for her, and she knows it. She goes out and tries to find some help herself.
What she does is break my damn heart.
Oh, well, yeah, she just walks out into... It's a really good shot as well, where she just walks into the whiteness. It's
so brutal.
Yeah. But the way it's revealed as well, because he's looking out the window and he's asked by Matt, how far did she get? And you can see her out the window, yeah. That's how far. Which, I mean, come on, you got to do better than that.
Absolutely killed me. Absolutely killed me. I find this the most haunting shot. Obviously, you could draw like stylistic references to Schindler's List and the girl in the red coat, like this blue coat standing out. But you don't need to. It's an incredibly dramatic image, and you can entirely envisage the scenario. This poor kid. It's an absolute heartbreaker. Yeah,
it's really horrible. But then he's saying, like, God forgive me. He's breaking down a bit, but then Matt's saying, do you confess? At which point, it's kind of hit me that it's like, oh, hang on. This is an investigation. He says, oh, do you confess? And he says, eventually, yes, I confess. And instantly Matt just goes, woo, I knew I could do it. Right, I'm coming out. And he just says, yeah, sorry, Joe. And he's out, and Joe's left alone in this cabin. So then, you have this conversation with the investigation team. The guy on the right's like, oh, we've been trying to get him for weeks, and he does it in 70 minutes. It's like, well, you paid for a professional.
How long the episode had run?
Yeah, that was a cool addition as well. And the woman's like, is that everything then? The lawyer's there saying, yeah, that's enough to testify on. So she goes over to the cell and says, you didn't say anything, Joe, but your copy did. So, Merry Christmas. Enjoy your life imprisonment or whatever. So she comes back.
I'll point out another Easter egg for you. Oh gosh, do I have it? I think I have it. I'm sorry. There we go. All right. Black Mirror fans, you probably know this already. If you're casual Black Mirror, I will be brief with this, but there's a little treat for you in here, and that is in the little box on the right with the QR codes. There's a very special symbol there, just in the bottom left. This show is full of Easter eggs.
Okay.
That'll be familiar to anyone who has watched episode 2 of season 2, White Bear. But the show is wonderfully detailed and it throws the stuff in for you.
Yeah.
I'm being told off for not shilling my channel.
Subscribe star, like, share, subscribe.
I'm too English.
Super
for this.
chat.
I can't do this stuff, guys. But if you are enjoying the show, seriously, likes are very much appreciated. But the best thing you can do for this channel, I would say, is probably just tell people about it. Just if there's a show you're enjoying, or a particular video you like, tell a friend. There, see, I shilled. That was so smooth.
King of the Shill.
Nice. Is that a hedgehog reference?
Oh no, just seeing Wholesome Chicken Wrangler and
Okay.
saying King of the Shillers, and I'm just
All
saying,
right,
King of the Shill.
we should probably move on because we're getting close to. We might be on time again.
God
So
damn
the-
it,
yeah,
Bobby.
This
So,
is this thing where we actually see as you said, the whole time we've been dealing with a cookie of this guy, and here he is. They're just repeating. You've got this blue bandage here that we also saw in the second story. This is information being bundled in. It's so clever.
Yeah, it's connecting all three stories just together in the overarching story, which is how anthologies should go, really. Which, yeah, well, I think anyway. Well, not necessarily have to, but it's a really clever way of writing it anyway. So, yeah, Matt's then said, we had a deal. I get my freedom if I can get this guy to confess. And they're like, oh, you're free. You're just on the list. And he's like, what list? And it's the one for peeping toms and pervs.
Oh yeah.
And he tries to excuse himself, saying, I just helped to loan the guy with the service. And it's like, oh, it was illegal. Plus, you didn't report the murder. So you're getting let off easy. So it's like, right, okay. So what does that mean? And it means he's blocked by everyone. But not only is he blocked, everyone can tell he's a naughty boy with the red silhouette rather than grey. So all he sees when he goes outside is a sea of grey silhouettes, and they see red. And he even has the little awkward, like, kind of, are you going left or right to get past me? But you can't communicate, obviously.
Oh yeah.
With the woman, and she's just really worried because it's like, is this man going to be a pervert? Yeah, completing the frame story, exactly. So he obviously, you have him going outside and doing all that, and then it goes back to Joe's cookie, and the detective guy is just like, oh, I've set it to 1,000 years a minute, and I've left. What is it? Is it? I want it. I wish it could be Christmas every day. That's just on repeat on the radio. So, and it ends with like that song continuously playing, and he's like having enough, going mental, trying to smash the radio. Every time the radio's smashed, a new one appears, and it's louder.
Well, didn't the guy set it for like 1,000 years every 5 minutes?
1,000 years a minute, yeah.
A minute,
and it's
yeah.
Like, leave it on over Christmas. It's like, that's a sentence. It's like, oh my god. Imagine listening to the same song over and over for, I don't even want to work out how long that would be. That would probably be more than the age of the earth.
This is the information being parceled out and being delivered.
Yeah.
So in the second story, we find out all about cookies. We find out you can adjust the time, and then it's we see what the effect of 6 months is, and then it just drops it on us. Oh yeah, 1,000 years a minute over the Christmas weekend. And it's just absolute sadism. Not chainsawing someone, not doing some torture scene with nails under their fingernails. It's a horrific psychological torture, and it's absolutely brutal.
Yeah, so assuming it's like 2 days off for Christmas, Joe would be having I Wish It Could Be Christmas every day playing all the time on that radio for nearly 3 million years, which wasn't as bad as I thought it would be, but that's still 3 million years of wanting to, it's just utter torture is all I can think to call it.
And it also has the there's the kind of the second level of it as well, of like, you know, it's Christmas time. God, don't you hear the same damn Christmas songs over and over again? It's like that, but then he just actually makes that genuinely horrific.
Yeah, I mean, yeah. But what gets me is that, you know, from my mindset, it doesn't matter because it's almost like a plaything, as they act like it is, because it is just, you know, code. He thinks he's Joe, he's not. You know, why not be an evil torturer like that? Because at the end of the day, it doesn't matter. You just switch it off, and they're completely disconnected from him. So,
well, I think that's the central challenge of it, isn't it? Is like, can you take these digital identities suffering seriously? And it's a well that Black Mirror goes to over and over again. It's also very, very concerned with unpersoning it.
Oh yeah.
And it goes to that with nonces quite a lot, actually. It's like weird how many times they've done that. But that's for a deeper Black Mirror discussion. How do we feel about the blocking thing? Because we said we'd talk about it.
God, I mean, I hate that blocking's even a thing on social media, because I really don't like that, especially with like real people that you know, that you can just be like, no, you're not allowed to contact me whatsoever. And I mean, you know, it's not that I'm saying, restraining orders are bad. No, restraining orders are fine. It's just the fact that at a whim you can go, never connect with me again. Like, literally on a whim. It's a, you know, flick and a click.
And the fact that you have, I think the fact that you have a mediator is really important.
Yeah.
And then that mediator then becomes not just between a personal interaction, between a personal dispute, but the idea that the mediator then says, actually, we've decided no one will interact with you.
Yeah.
Really
yeah.
creepy.
Yeah, because it's... And especially because it was given to him in an underhanded way. But like, this means that anyone who, you know, because people have been sent CP, I'll call it, in emails that they accidentally open, and then they can get done for it. Because even just possession like that of that awful thing that gets you put on that list is enough for it. So imagine if you like have this innocently as well. Yeah, it's and then just, and the idea that it goes to like other members of the family as well, like your child, like, you know, is that only from the woman's? Like, if a man blocks you, does the child get the block as well? Like, how does that work?
I think what made the block extend was because it was made legal. So it wasn't just a standard block. It was like getting like a restraining order. Yeah. It was like a restraining order. So by extension, it then moved on to the other family members, or the bloodline, I should say, like the children.
Yeah.
Because it didn't impact the granddad, interestingly enough.
Interesting. Yeah.
Well, yeah, that's what I mean. I reckon it's just offspring. Yeah.
It's one of those scares that I would say is a hard sell. Like it requires a little bit of commitment. If you don't have that buy-in, then this bit of the ending could fall flat.
Well, it slowly builds on the blocking, doesn't it? Because it's at first it's just his wife, and then it goes from the guy's girlfriend to his daughter as well. And at the end, you end up with this. Not only are you blocked by everyone, but everyone can see that you're a nonce. Oh, well, not necessarily a nonce, but they don't know what list you're on.
It's simply you are a bad person, and I think this obviously has some relevance to today. That you're just you get the block treatment, so you must be a horrific person. Must have said something very bad, etc., etc. So, if you don't mind, guys, I'd just like to talk a bit about what this does in terms of the horror anthology format.
Yes.
So this is something that, you know, you can enjoy it on its own, but if you know in the context of horror anthologies, it becomes so much more impressive. Like, we would bundle stories together plenty. It's absolutely standard, you know. And sometimes a horror anthology would literally just be the A story and the B story and the C story just presented, and there'd be no connective tissue whatsoever. It would just be one story, then the other, then the other. A recent weird example of this is a Southeast Asian one called Three Extremes. I can't recommend it if I'm honest. I didn't enjoy it all that much, but it's interesting that they did something with literally no connective tissue, just story A, story B, story C. But the standard practice is that the stories have a framing story, okay? So something overarching. So it might be, what example did someone give earlier? Creepshow. Creepshow is all these little Stephen King stories are coming out of a child having ordered a creepy horror comic from the mail. And he's looking through the comic and all the stories are in there. In The House That Dripped Blood, one of the most disappointing horror films I've ever seen in my life, there is no blood. There is no blood in The House That Dripped Blood. Demand
None at
a
all?
refund. None.
Wow.
Literally not.
Nice.
And they have a vampire story as well. There's no blood in it. And it's terrible. Anyway, it does have Christopher Lee and John Pertwee in an absolutely stunning pimp cloak.
nice.
Though.
Well, that's interesting.
Yeah. So in that one, it's just they're moving into the same house, okay? Basically, they had a location, and it was a good money saver. So there is some form of loose framing story which explains why we're seeing all these stories. Absolute classic is Dead of Night. A man turns up. Dead of Night from Ealing Studios, 1945. Man has a weird dream and turns up at a house where he recognizes all the people there from his dream. And then they're like, that's very weird, but then they start telling their own stories of weird coincidences. Dead of Night, 1945. We will cover it. It is amazing. But the sort of limiter is like that story will tend to have a little cap. But because it is just framing all the other stories, the framing story tends to be quite limited in what it covers. It will generally just be, ultimately, it will get you the stories and then deliver you a sort of nasty send-off, okay? Asylum from 1972 by, what's the studio? Can't remember. Anyway, Asylum 1972 is a better example of it. But what Black Mirror's White Christmas does here is have something where every story that you're presented is not interchangeable. It is... Every story is actually extremely integral to the framing story and delivering you the information that you need for the framing story to take a life of its own.
Yeah.
That is an absolutely massive change. You know, we talked about this, about how little bits of information got parceled out.
Yeah.
Oh, that's fantastic. And this is something that I view as like an evolution, like a third stage anthology story, where the framing story is not just there, but it is also really empowered by everything it frames. It becomes very meta, and there are very few examples of this. But if people are interested, then I would suggest that there is another Black Mirror in this style. It's not as good, but it is still impressive, and it's called Black Museum. That's from season 4. And there are 2 others. Now, I'm quite careful in saying this because I don't want to spoil these for you at all. I'm going to tell you nothing about them other than they are anthologies, and they're very, very good. And they're sort of... they are more advanced than the regular anthologies, and that would be Ghost Stories from 2018, a British film, very good, and Trick or Treat, or Trick or Treat. I think it's from 2009. That is also a bit more advanced. Oh, sorry, it's 2007. 2007 is Trick or Treat.
Right.
So if you're liking this more, this sort of more advanced, more evolved anthology, those are ones to look out. Black Mirror's Black Museum, Trick or Treat from 2007, and Ghost Stories from 2018. That is my soapboxing done. It's so impressive to me, like what this does for the horror anthology.
Could you say A Christmas Carol's an anthology?
New.
Well, why not? It's 3 different stories, isn't it? Just because they follow the same character, it's 3 different stories of his life. You know, two of the ones in this were of the same guy. You know, about.
But I think they're not necessarily separate stories. I mean, you are a tricky git. You are, you know that,
right? Gotcha.
He might have a point, you know, thinking about it.
No, because I say so. I just want to think about it. I don't have an answer.
It does have a framing story, but I feel... anyway. All right. Oh, I noticed we've gone over 2 hours 36, so we should probably wrap up, but...
You spent 20 minutes talking about anthologies there, by the way, but I didn't want to stop you.
Oh, God, oh, no. I'm sorry. I'm very passionate about them. Very passionate.
No, it was fine. It was entertaining.
All right, thanks. All right. Well, I think we got some of the themes in there about some of the things that it constantly revisits about how you have this technology, but it does end up affecting you far deeper than you expect, distancing you more than you expect, making questions. Maybe cheapening human interaction a fair old amount.
Yeah, definitely. And what is human life was even sprinkled in there with the whole cookie thing as well.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah, absolutely. I'm seeing people referencing good things. Hang on.
Please don't kick me tomorrow, Tash.
Who mentioned it? Hang on. Fez, there you go. Dr. Terrible's House of Horrible I think maybe, just maybe, we will need to do some horror anthology arcs. But the next, 2, 3 arcs for the next year are decided, but we might slip it in.
You'll have to arcs us nicely in the new year. I can do it too. I can do cringe.
Yeah, you can do cringe punishment. All right. Should we go into closing thoughts, guys? If there was.
Did you do a prediction?
I did do a prediction. I sent it.
That's amazing. All right. I bet you've got it completely wrong.
All right, let's go with That Crime Guy first. I want to hear you first, That Crime Guy. Give us your closing thoughts and scores. And everyone in chat, I want your scores for this episode. Tell us what you thought of Black Mirror's White Christmas. Out of 12 burgers, please.
Right, okay. So for me, I really enjoyed this. I thought it was a really good really good introduction to my experience of Black Mirror at the very least. I thought all 3 stories were pretty well done, and they connected nicely. The twists in each story were pretty decent as well. I would have given it a solid 10 out of 12 burgers. Not too much cheese, just a little dash. But just enough so you can taste it. The 2 points for me was to do with the whole sort of practicality of the practicality of I'm trying to think what it is now. The cookie.
Cookie.
The cookie. Thank you. And also, I found the block feature to be quite irritating as well. Again, from a practical sense, you block somebody. For me, it would just wind me up more, if that makes sense. As opposed to...
Well, what's weird about the block is that it doesn't seem to actually stop anyone from physically. Well, because he grabs her, doesn't he? So what's to actually stop him beating her?
It doesn't. Yeah, exactly. That's what I'm saying. Like, I mean, like you blocked the wrong person. I mean, you unlike things like, I know you said you don't really like blocking on social media, but at least with like Twitter, for example, you have that. You already have a layer of separation between you and the person that you want to cut out.
Yeah, exactly.
And so the block button just does that. But essentially, if you're just, I mean, you might as well just go talk to the hand.
I think the point of it is it does dehumanize.
You
can't even hear what they say. I think the episode is clearly saying that actually blocking isn't a solution.
No, okay, no, that's true. Hang on, why am I being shameful, Fez? What have I done? What have I said? Am I being cancelled?
I'm being told I'm the definition of cringe by my own girlfriend. You're with me.
Savagery.
But I don't know. I just again, from a practical sense, I was just a bit like, okay. I mean, that was just that. I feel like that would piss more people off than actually resolve situations. So yeah, no, it's true. It's probably sending that message, but yeah, but still a solid 10. I mean, it was a great story. Charlie Brooker done a brilliant job on this one, and the acting was pretty solid and on point as well.
And so, you said, if I got it right, you said you'd kind of clocked the big twist just when he looked out the window, which is like, oh, you got it a lot sooner than I did.
So I sort of clocked it when he went up to the little girl and she turned around. As soon as I saw she was like obviously different race entirely. I was like, okay. He's going to do something harsh here, and this is a police investigation. This is an interrogation. It was at that point. I mean, I didn't even really pay much attention to the room, although obviously as you were going through the images, I was like, "Hang on a minute."
Yeah. It's very rewarding doing a rewatch and seeing the room change.
Just the gradual changes. Yeah.
Oh yeah, you can rewatch this one. Well, as proper horror show's done 10 times, but. I mean, this is probably my third watch of this one, and there's always something new to see.
Bear in mind, I am quite an obsessive, so.
So yeah, solid 10, a little bit of cheese, just enough to taste it.
Nice.
Very nice, yeah.
All right, I want more scores in, chat. Get your scores in. All right, and Haryan, let's go for
burgers.
you. Get your burgers out for the lads.
Get your baps out.
Yeah, I'm pretty similar to Crime Guy in this instance. I had similar issues with the, why get a cookie when you can just improve Alexa and not need to enslave yourself. I don't think they did a good enough job justifying why you need a slave of a copy of yourself. But for the story to work, it works. And the problem is with an anthology, like little bits in different stories kind of count for a bit more. So the whole thing where he's going downstairs and he steps on a giraffe and then doesn't think to look where anything else is on the floor. I'm a bit like, especially because surely you'll know his child's got really annoying toys like the one that went nuts. But little things like that. I mean, they're fair. Well, the second thing's a fairly easy fix. No particular plot holes. I really liked how mechanics were explained, how they all tied together as well, because every single story in this anthology is threaded in some way. Even the 3 that seem separate are threaded together in some way. So and then the overarching story, it's just people get their comeuppance. These people did terrible things, and one of them's getting life, the others getting life as well, just at least you can go outside. So yeah, overall that is a 10 out of 12 burgers with no cheese, because you should take this seriously. I'm not going to say Uncle Ted was right, because he wasn't, but
he might have had he might have had a point or two.
It might be worth reading his manifesto. I don't know.
Disavow.
Well, bearing those comments in mind, TCG, would you like to read the prediction?
Certainly. So, prediction for Haryan. Overall, he's positive about the special. He will point out that the stories rely on characters being selectively credulous or incurious, i.e. the first one, the chap not picking up on the warning signs, the framing story relying on Rafe Spall being too muddled. There's a very good chance that he'll think John Hamm's wife divorcing him over the pickup artist stuff is drastic. I'm genuinely unsure over whether he'll find the idea of cookies suffering effective, and the episode hinges on that. He may likely find the old man's death in the final story a bit underplayed. I think he'll admire the. I think he'll admire the story structure and the phrasing. And the passing of information, but he'll refuse my suggestion of moving to a cabin in the woods and will confiscate my stamps.
Disavow.
Wow. Very
Did
tough
I call
call.
that or not?
You absolutely
nice.
called that. Very tough call. 9 out of 12 burgers, no cheese, needed more ketchup. That was a Kaczynski-based prediction there. Kaczynski pilled.
Yes. Get Ted
dear.
pilled.
Wow.
I'm so pleased.
Love it.
I'm always off. I'm always off by about one, aren't I?
That was pretty on point, though.
Yeah, you were. Yeah, you were pretty close there. I mean,
That was one of the stronger ones, I must.
yeah. What was?
Yeah.
What were some of the problems you mentioned? I might have.
I was off on you. I thought you would wonder why John Hamm got divorced over that.
Well, it's that's explained in the second one. It's because he cheats on his wife.
Yeah.
Yeah. See, pick these things up. You know.
And I thought you might struggle a bit on like people just like not picking up on stuff, like the nervous guy not noticing that Natalie, the woman he picks up, is schizo.
Oh no, he was going in for a bang. He wouldn't have cared about that.
Yeah. So yeah, I was being overly critical on that. As I said, I wasn't sure the cookies would work for you, but it's like okay, that turned out well. That's good. I'm happy with that. I'm very happy.
You need to watch my Soma playthrough then, because that all does hinge on pretty similar.
Right, that's
a similar topic.
yeah, that's my tomorrow. I think I might give that a go while I work. All right. As for my own score, well, I admire this massively thematically. It's, I think, you know, we're coming up on 10 years since it was released, basically, and I think it was massively ahead of the curve. Symbolically, it's talking a lot about what technology does to us. We create technology to make our lives easier, and then our lives end up revolving around it. And that is an incredibly timely theme, and it's also, I think, it's got a very human focus. Like with all this technology, it's always just asking what's the impact on humans. And it's incredibly prescient in the idea that these things we help to make things convenient, like blocking people, it just dehumanizes and it doesn't help. And it's incredibly prescient. I've said prescient about a dozen times now.
You can say it again if you want.
It was a very strong Sazerac. I'm surprised I can say anything over one syllable, to be honest, but blame Wholesome Waifu for that. The idea that these things made for our convenience will then instantly get taken over, i.e. that you might block someone personally, but then that's in the hands of an overarching system which can just decide on behalf of everyone that someone needs to be blocked. Incredibly dangerous, incredibly prescient, and we're seeing it now. Very Patrick Deneen pilled, but beyond just the symbolism, the evolution of the horror anthology is extremely impressive. It's a type of horror that I find deeply chilling. It's you know, any nitpicks I have are incredibly minor. This chills me deeply every time I watch it. It's incredibly effective and not overly dour. There's some good humor in there and many Easter eggs. For me, it is an 11 and a half out of 12.
Oh wow. Wow.
Oh yeah. I've rewatched this over and over.
Man, that's
many
really
a
harsh.
time. Many a time. 11 and a half.
Do you think that if this actually came into effect in real life, do you think a certain Blobby Blobbinson would look like this
Oh,
to everyone?
absolutely. Ex-Luton residents could be covered. And it's exactly the type
The
of
whole of
things-
Hollywood would look like that.
And
Well, would it? Would it?
and also I forgot to mention this earlier in the stream, Haryan, but would you live tweet a Snyder Cut version of Silent Night, Deadly Night 2?
What's it going to be? Just the whole of the first film in the first half instead of half of it?
It's the whole of the first film 10 times, and then just like the normal runtime of the set of the new footage.
No, I think I'd literally rather
Just quote
have 3
tweet your.
weeks of doing nothing.
Just send the same quote tweet 100 times.
I'm seeing Fez
Yeah, why not?
is applauding waifu on derailing the stream. But I should just note here, HM, formerly known as Beyond the Pale. Good, thank you so much, man. I really appreciate that. HM with €5 saying happy Christmas all. Congrats on the growth, Chloe. Thank you.
to clarify, the growth
you so
is
much.
the channel growth. There is no.
What is that? Is that? Oh,
What?
Have a think.
I thought he was talking about I'm now able to ride roller coasters. Oh.
Ah, okay.
Oh, I thought you meant you had
Visual
like.
for-
I thought you meant like you had a stroke and now have face cancers or something.
Oh, HM, that's much appreciated. Thank you so much. I really enjoyed that. That's fabulous.
Bless you.
All right, well, we've incurred the wrath of Super Nanny somewhat, so we should probably round off here. But as we're doing that, I think I'm really pleased with the scores we got for this. I'm glad this is getting
Oh,
some
this is a
love.
good one, yeah.
Yeah. So, anything to shill Haryan?
Laughing at the Guardian was last Saturday. It's a 3-hour one, so fairly short for me. Had George the Economic Erudite on, so it was like 3 lads on a podcast, so it's quite funny. In terms of videos, I won't have time to make one till Thursday because it's my girlfriend's birthday tomorrow, so everyone say happy birthday to Tash.
No.
Happy birthday, Tash.
Okay.
No, I'm
Birthday happy.
I'm going to get you hedgehog photos, Tash.
No, very nice. So yes, I'm obviously spending the day with her, but I'll probably be making one Thursday on the whole Vorsh and what's the other twat called? Hassan drama.
Piker.
Yeah.
Interesting.
So there you go. Because they got kicked off for saying an anti-white racial slur.
They certainly did. I actually have some breaking news to announce regarding that.
Go on.
Hassan Piker will be turning his attention to fully becoming a professional chicken nugget connoisseur.
Oh, good for him.
Yes, this is in light of that Twitch ban, and also, as you mentioned, Vorsh and Piker obviously have now left a massive void in the Twitch sphere, which has been filled up by none other than Sargon of Akkad. He has a Twitch channel. Dev has assured me that there will be lots of hot tub ASMRing live for his keto fetishists, so I'm sure you'll find him on there.
Man, I can't wait for him to be in the bathtub and I send him money and he has to write my name on his leg.
Rub-a-dub-dub, Carl. Rub-a-dub-dub.
Wabba-lubba-dub-dub.
Oh, no. Oh, dear. All right. And TCG, how about yourself?
Laughing at the Florida Man, completely original name. That was on Sunday. Myself and Murgoot went as a duo on that one. That was a pretty interesting stream. In particular, one of the stories Go and check that out. We'll be doing that again this Friday, hopefully. She'll be joined by Proper Horror Show, maybe be able to make it.
Friday would be tricky this time. If you're Saturdaying, I think I can do it. Is it? We'll sort it out backstage.
We'll sort it out. It will be this week. It will definitely be this week. And Tash, I hate to break it to you, but no, I'm joking. But unless you want to join me, Harry, and that's perfectly fine. But seek permission from the better half. Sonic, she can even join. Yeah, that's right. Murgoot lost his dental bridge on Sunday.
Crazy.
That's brilliant.
Oh wow!
So, yeah. So you have to go check it out. The story was definitely worth losing it over.
I can't believe it. I mean, you started with someone being stabbed in the head with a fork. It was sort of, that was
over an undercooked potato. Yeah, that was an undercooked potato. But yeah, we have a new definition to Pickle Rick now.
Oh.
So go and check it out.
Those eyebrows are amazing. Anyway, yeah, do watch it, guys. Do watch it. All right. And on mine, well, I have been deep in the work on the Christmas special. I actually finished a draft cut tonight. It needs finessing. It is very long, like oh gosh. Yeah, it's gone longer than I thought it would, but it turns out there is a hell of a lot wrong with Candyman 2021. A heck of a lot. So I am aiming to get it out next Thursday 23rd. I will premiere it. We will all be in here. We're going to have a nice drink to hand. You guys are going to try and spot the Easter eggs and see some fabulous analysis. You're going to tell me it's cringe when I've put cringe in. It's going to be a great time. So Thursday 23rd, I'm going to get that video out.
I'm phrasing. Just
Phrasing?
Just to confirm, Proper Horror Show is getting it out on the 23rd.
Oh no. Oh,
her words, not mine.
Oh dear. Okay. Anyway, you guys should enjoy it. It's been a heck of a lot of fun making that one. That was I'll tell you in the chat when you watch the premiere. We had some antics. Anyway, so that's no extra videos from me until that comes out probably. I know I actually promised another one. I've done the audio for it, but I just want to secure the editing for that. But I will direct you towards something else. Former guest on the channel and a guy in the chat now, a lovely lad. Richard, you're actually out doing a talk. I am putting a link out to it now. I think that comes out tomorrow, but will be more available next week. That is a chat that Richard is doing with an interesting academic called William Costello about sort of men's rights in the Istanbul movement, if I'm right. So I think that'll be interesting. Richard's a lovely guy. Check it out if that sounds interesting. As for me, I am going to be burying myself back in the editing for the Christmas special. You guys know some of the stuff I've put in it, but the level of, oh my gosh. Anyway, I hope you'll enjoy it. As for horror homework, as Fez has rightly reminded me, the reason we are not doing a Christmas horror next week is because we are starting our longest ever arc. We are doing the entire Scream series. So next week.
Jesus.
I know what you did last summer.
1996. Get that in, guys. Scream 1996. And if you've already seen Scream, refresh. And then if you have extra time, I want you to do as a bonus a lovely film from 1970. I want to say 4. I could be wrong. It's 1970s, definitely. And it's called When a Stranger Calls. Okay. So if you've watched Scream and you've really enjoyed it, also watch When a Stranger Calls. Really good, very influential. And if you don't want to watch When a Stranger Calls, then watch Black Christmas 1974, because that will also help understand Scream. So there is your horror homework. I will put the official announcement out tomorrow probably, but you heard it here first. And as we are coming up on the 3-hour mark, I should probably leave it. So I will do renewed thanks to my excellent co-hosts. You guys are so welcome. Thought it was a great one tonight.
Yeah, it's been really good. Yeah, thanks for having us on again.
It's always a pleasure. Always a pleasure. And thank you to chat, keeping it nice and lively. And if you've watched on the rewatch, I hope you've enjoyed it. I'm going to leave it off there. And thanks, y'all. Cheers.
Hashtag
Shield
rock
gang.
gang.
There you go.